Chapter 1158. Sun Yuching turned his head and smiled. This ascending dragon mountain is too big, so it's almost impossible for us to find the heavenly king palm. However, it's different for the palace mistress and the others, so they might know about the heavenly king palm. He turned to look at Su Miaozhu. Isn't that right, palace master? Why are you looking for the heavenly king palm? Su Miaozhu asked coolly. Naturally, I want to learn the heavenly king palm. Sun Yuching smiled. I heard that the heavenly king palm is extremely powerful and invincible. Su Miaozhu shook her head and said, It's easy for you to learn the heavenly king palm. I'll teach you. Sun Yuching looked at him in surprise. Su Miaozhu said, The first mistress of the Guanghan Palace was the heavenly king palm's daughter. The heavenly king palm Wu Qing is our grandmaster. Sun Yuching widened his eyes. Palace master, do you know the heavenly king palm too? Yes. Su Miaozhu nodded lightly. Sun Yuching asked, The heavenly king palm is indeed powerful, isn't it? Su Miaozhu shook her head and said, Although the heavenly king palm is an ancient martial art, it is not suitable for the present. It is a martial art that is destined to be eliminated. Why? Sun Yuching was surprised. Su Miaozhu said, The heavenly king palm requires a huge amount of spiritual energy and is extremely difficult to cultivate. Even in ancient times, there were very few people who succeeded in cultivating it. Back then, Grandmaster Wu Qing had several fortuitous encounters and only managed to cultivate the heavenly king palm by chance. Sun Yuching frowned and nodded slowly. The more mystical the art, the more difficult it was to cultivate. This was for sure, and he was already prepared for it. Su Miaozhu said lightly, In this world where spiritual energy is scarce, it's even more impossible to cultivate the heavenly king palm. The power of the heavenly king palm is inferior to ordinary palm technique. I see. Sun Yuching sighed. He was a little disappointed. Originally, he had thought that once he mastered the heavenly king palm, he would be able to dominate the world. Even if he couldn't become an emperor, he would still be free and unfettered. In this world, it was useless to be a prince without good martial arts. Su Miaozhu said, I'll ask D.Er to send you a secret manual in a while. You can study it. Maybe you'll be able to cultivate it with your extraordinary talent. Thank you, Palace Master. Sun Yuching gave a fist salute. Su Miaozhu replied faintly, D.Er and the others' lives are more important than the heavenly king palm art. If there's anything else you need, just tell me. I'll try my best to satisfy you. Sun Yuching turned to look at Elder Su and the others. Chu Li asked, Palace Master, do you have Heavenly King Palm Senior Wu's handwritten letter? Handwritten notes? Su Miaozhu shook her head lightly. No. Chu Li glanced at her and knew that she was not lying. He felt that it was a pity that he had come to the vast cold palace for nothing. The four of you should stay here for a while longer, Su Miaozhu said. Don't be in a hurry to descend the mountain. Wait until the profound pavilion loses their patience before you leave. Young master, we should leave as soon as possible. Old Su frowned and said, If we leave now, we can still escape. If we delay any longer, there will be more and more people. I'm afraid that we won't be able to escape even if we want to. Su Miaozhu said, If you can't leave, then stay here. They won't be able to break in. Elder Su shook his head. He was worried that Sun Yuching's identity would be exposed. In that case, the Zheng dynasty would not only send out masters from the mysterious pavilion, but also the Zheng dynasty's elite masters. No matter how capable they would not be able to protect the prince. Sun Yuching was an ordinary name, and there were many people with this name in the world. Therefore, he could speak his name openly. However, if his identity as a prince of the Great Li dynasty was exposed, there would be endless trouble. Sun Yuching glanced at Elder Su. Elder Su's expression was solemn as he slowly shook his head. Sun Yuching then looked at Chu Li. Chu Li pondered for a while. Listen to Elder Su, we should leave as soon as possible. All right then, we'll leave today, Sun Yuqing said. Su Miaozhu said, Dear, bring me the secret manual of the Heavenly King Palm. Yes. Lu Di answered crisply and glided away. She returned quickly and presented a box to Su Miaozhu. Su Miaozhu opened the box and took out a yellowed silk book for Sun Yuqing. This is written by the founder himself. It can't be given to anyone, but young Master Sun can make a copy of it. Yes. Sun Yuqing smiled. Although he did not have much hope, it was still good to have a look. Everyone glided down the bamboo branches and left Ascending Dragon Mountain. When they landed at the foot of Ascending Dragon Mountain, Sun Yuqing turned around and stared in the direction of the bamboo hut. He sighed and felt melancholic. He initially thought that he could have an unforgettable relationship in the vast cold palace, but he did not expect to leave in a hurry. He did not get to see more beauties, and did not win Lu Di's heart. Young master, Elder Rin said, since you've obtained the Heavenly King Palm, it's better to return as soon as possible. Don't go anywhere else. It's not easy for us to come to the Jing dynasty. Are we going back just like that? Sun Yuqing was indignant. He looked away reluctantly and wished that he could stay in the bamboo hut in the vast cold palace and see those beauties every day. Elder Rin said, Mysterious Pavilion won't let this go easily. Let's avoid them for now and come back next time. Sun Yuqing sighed. Alright. I'll listen to you, Elder Rin. Let's go back. Chu Li kept thinking about the Heavenly King Palm. The secret manual of the Heavenly King Palm that he had copied for him had been imprinted in his mind. It was as if the Heavenly King Palm was tailor-made for him. The Heavenly King Palm had a high requirement for spiritual energy as it required dense spiritual energy. The current world was indeed not suitable for cultivating the Heavenly King Palm, but he had the life and death scripture, which provided him with endless spiritual energy. When cultivating the Heavenly King Palm, as long as he channeled the heart technique and the life and death scripture at the same time, his cultivation speed would be even faster than 2,000 years ago. If he could successfully cultivate the Heavenly King Palm, it would be even more powerful than the Divine Light Fist. It would be more powerful than any of the fist and leg techniques that he had cultivated so far, and it would greatly improve his combat strength. He could not wait to start cultivating it right away, so he tried to figure out the Heavenly King Palm as he walked. He wanted to comprehend it as soon as possible, so he was so focused that he had unknowingly walked 5 miles. Sun Yuqing and the others suddenly stopped. When Chu Li looked up, he saw a group of people blocking the middle of the road and staring at them coldly. Sun Yuqing frowned. There were 10 people in this group, and each of them was a master with white eyebrows and beard. They were staring at him as if they were looking at a rare treasure, which made him tremble in fear. Are you Sun Yuqing, the prince of the Li dynasty? An elder with white hair and a ruddy complexion took a step forward and said in a deep voice, How dare you come to the Jing dynasty and stir up trouble? If we don't take you down, the Jing dynasty will seem weak. Sun Yuqing's face darkened. His identity had been exposed. Clearly, it was his brother's doing again. They wanted to kill him with a borrowed knife. If the Zheng dynasty killed him, even the emperor would not be able to do anything about it. What a vicious scheme! Chu Li took a step forward, and with another step, he was already in front of this group of people. He swung his arms, and 2 cold lights shot out. Ding! The 2 sword lights turned into 2 light shields in front of them, blocking Chu Li's light blade. Chu Li frowned. They came prepared. He swung 2 energy blades again. Ding ding! The energy blades collided with the sword lights, and the sound of metal clashing could be heard, but they could not break through their sword lights. The 2 elders' swordsmanship was exquisite, and they had cultivated for about 200 years. Their cooperation was seamless, and it was obvious that it was a mysterious sword formation that could dissolve the power of his flying blades. The inner energy contained in his flying blades had a trace of the Earth Matrix and Reincarnation Scripture's characteristics, and it had several changes. It was not easy for the two elders' sword lights to block it. Chapter 1159. P.S. Update complete. Chu suddenly disappeared from the spot and escaped from the crowd's attack. The next moment, he appeared behind the crowd and swung his arms. At such a close distance, the elders could not dodge in time due to the light blade's incredible speed. They could only avoid being hit in their vital spots. However, Chu usually attacked one person with two blades. The first and second blade arrived almost at the same time. The manifestation of nature restoration and the omniscient mirror worked together to predict their movements and dodging route. If they could dodge the first blade, they would not be able to dodge the second. If they wanted to dodge the second blade, they would not be able to dodge the first blade. The distance between them and Chu and the speed of the light blade determined that they only had two choices. TSK, 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 TSK. Chu flashed like a phantom. His blade energy was as sharp as a tangible blade light. 4 of the 10 old men fell in the blink of an eye, and the remaining 6 formed a sword formation. The sword lights were integrated into one, forming a circular wall of light that protected them in the middle, leaving no place for them to attack. Chu frowned at them and did not know what to do. Sun Yuqing let out a sigh of relief and smiled. Elder Su and Elder Ren frowned. Elder Su quickly called out, "Young Zhao, don't rush in." Based on his rich experience, he felt that the 6 elders had set up a trap to lure Chu into their midst. It was not difficult for Chu to do so given his martial arts skills, but they must have a trump card waiting for Chu to rush in. Chu nodded. Understood. The 6 elders rushed toward Chu. Their feet fluttered in the air, and even while they were fluttering, their swords were still as one. There were no openings at all, and Chu was forced to retreat. They were not fast enough to catch up with Chu, but they kept chasing after him. "Elder Ren, let's not idle around," Elder Su said. Elder Ren nodded. The 2 of them attacked the sword formation with their fists. TSK, TSK, sounds could be heard as their fist energy was shattered by the sword light. The force from their fists caused the 6 elders to slow down and stop pressuring Chu. Chu had been thinking of a way to break the formation. Suddenly, he shot out 2 energy blades and cooperated with Elder Su and Elder Ren. Ding! One of the long swords stopped for a moment and revealed a flaw. In just a short while, Chu had already seen the flaws. The 2 slashes hit the weak points, causing the sword formation to slow down and show a hint of sluggishness. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. Chu waved his hands and energy blades shot out like lightning. The originally sluggish sword formation became more and more sluggish. The 6 elders' faces turned gloomy. They used to serve the mysterious pavilion, and they rarely left the mountain. They lived in seclusion in the mountains and followed the unspoken rule that centenarians were not allowed to enter the martial arts world. This time, they were asked to leave the mountain by the mysterious pavilion to deal with a prince of Dali dynasty. Originally, they thought that it would be a piece of cake. After all, the 10 of them were experts over 100 years old. They never expected that the kid in front of them would be so difficult to deal with. They were really unlucky to encounter such a rare genius. Hundreds of years of tacit understanding had allowed this sword formation to be so powerful, but it could not stop this young man. This made his mind go through a lot of thoughts. Jealousy and anger surged, and his desire to kill Chu grew stronger. He wanted nothing more than to stab Chu to death with his sword. However, reality was such that no matter how strong their killing intent was, it was useless. They looked at each other and understood each other's intentions. Their bodies suddenly shrank. Bang! An invisible force suddenly spread, and they seemed to have shrunk a little. However, the sword light suddenly increased, and the sluggish sword formation became smooth again. Moreover, it was much more powerful than before. It turned into a shadow and shot toward Chu, covering him in it. Elder Su and Elder Ren were anxious. They were afraid that Chu would encounter such a situation. Once he was surrounded by the 6 elders, the sword formation's power would be maximized. No matter how powerful Zhao De was, he would not be able to withstand it. Faced with the 6 elders' sword light, Chu Li suddenly pointed 2 fingers. The surging sword light instantly slowed down. Chu Li used the petrifying finger. TSS, 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 TSS. 4 cold lights shot out. 2 elders covered their throats and fell. The sword formation of the 6 was instantly broken. Ah! The other 4 elders roared and waved their swords in a frenzy. Even under such circumstances, the 4 elders' sword light was still as one. It engulfed Chu Li like a storm, and it was everywhere, trying to tear him into pieces. Chu Li suddenly disappeared from where he was and shot out 2 energy blades again. Ding ding! With a clear sound, the 4 elders' sword light slowed down again. Elder Su and Elder Ren's fist force also arrived and took advantage of the situation. With this delay, Chu Li shot out his flying blade again. With the help of the Nature Restoration Manifestation and the Omniscient Mirror, it hit an elder. Seeing that the situation was not good, the other 3 elders turned around and fled like 3 wisps of smoke. Chu Li scoffed and disappeared from where he was. He then appeared in front of an elder and shot out his flying blade and the petrifying finger at the same time. Soon, he killed one of them. Then, he disappeared again and appeared behind the 2nd elder. If the 3 elders had joined forces to form a sword formation, they could have lasted a little longer. Now that they were separated, they were no match for Chu Li even if they activated their secret skills. Chu Li defeated them one by one and killed them with the light blade. Elder Su and Elder Ren looked at Chu Li strangely. These were 100 to 200-year-old masters, and they were the hardest to kill. However, they could not even withstand a single blow from Chu Li. This Zhao De was too terrifying. It was no wonder that he could kill the Holy Church of Light's altar leader. Such a master had a bright future and would definitely become a high-ranking member of the Holy Church of Light in the future. Chu Li returned to Sun Yuqing's side and turned to give a fist salute in the direction of ascending Dragon Mountain. A white cloud rose from the depths of the bamboo forest. Then Su Miaozhu, the palace mistress of vast cold palace, appeared on top of a bamboo branch. She nodded gently before she rose again and disappeared into the depths of the bamboo forest. It seems that the palace mistress is cold on the outside but warm on the inside. Sun Yuqing smiled. Chu Li glanced at him and sighed. Young master, we might not be able to enter the bamboo hut the next time we come. Sun Yuqing was startled and looked nervous. Chu Li said, The Heavenly King Palm is our repayment for saving our lives. They won't make an exception to let us enter vast cold palace next time. We shouldn't have come down. Sun Yuqing shook his head in frustration. This was a rare opportunity. Why not stay in the bamboo hut for a while? Time breeds love, and the pavilion closest to the water enjoys the moonlight first. He did not believe that he could not win Ludi's heart with his casual demeanor. Chu Li smiled. Elder Su said, Young master, we can't delay any longer. We have to leave now. All right, let's go. Sun Yuqing scoffed. They used their body techniques and sped away, ignoring the 10 elders lying on the ground. They did not even care if they were dead or not. Chu Li knew that they were already dead. This time, Mysterious Pavilion's vitality was greatly damaged. However, he was not in a hurry to make a move. He wanted to master the Heavenly King Palm first. Once he mastered the Heavenly King Palm, his combat strength would increase greatly, and he would have a higher chance of defeating Mysterious Pavilion. Mysterious Pavilion's vitality was indeed damaged, but it was still a powerful organization of a nation with deep influence. There might even be a super master guarding it. The more combat strength he had, the higher his chances of success would be. His mind was completely occupied by the Heavenly King Palm. He was immersed in it to feel the wonders of the Heavenly King Palm. Chapter 1160. The 4 of them ran as fast as they could, knowing that the next time they were caught, it would not be just 10 people, but 20, 30, or even 40. Mysterious Pavilion had suffered such a huge loss. They had the support of the entire Jing dynasty, and there were more than just a few dozen masters in the country. Moreover, Sun Yuqing's identity was sensitive. If the Jing dynasty could not kill him since he had killed a master from the Jing dynasty, it would be detrimental to the country's prestige. They were all grandmasters, so their speed was extremely fast. They even took pills and ran without rest. On the third day, they finally left the Jing dynasty's territory and entered the Fu dynasty. They were all relieved. They ran for half the night and stopped in a forest, where they started a bonfire and rested. It was early winter in the Fu dynasty, and the air was cold. They sat cross-legged and meditated for a while before they started to chat. "We're not afraid of Mysterious Pavilion anymore." Elder Su let out a long sigh. "They won't dare to mess around in the Fu dynasty's territory." Chu Li said, "Is the Fu dynasty really so powerful that Mysterious Pavilion won't dare to mess around? Won't it be fine if they sneak over to kill us?" "Mysterious Pavilion wouldn't dare," Elder Su said. "If they offend the Fu dynasty, they'll tear down Mysterious Pavilion." "Are there really that many masters in the Fu dynasty?" Chu Li asked. Elder Su said, "Of course. The Li dynasty and the other 3 countries only have 4 major sects, but the Fu dynasty has 8 major sects, and none of them are inferior to the Holy Church of Light." Chu Li asked, "I heard that the most powerful sect in the Fu dynasty is Goddess Attraction Mountain?" "Yes, Goddess Attraction Mountain is indeed otherworldly." Elder Su nodded. "No one would disagree if they say it's the first sect. Can they really communicate with grandmasters?" "Of course. That's impressive." Chu Li pondered. "If I become a disciple of Goddess Attraction Mountain, don't even dream about it." Elder Su smiled. "I heard that Goddess Attraction Mountain is proficient in the universal divination technique. They can calculate the location of their future disciples and send people to recruit them." Chu Li asked, "How do they calculate?" Elder Su shook his head and said, "No one knows. There are people with ordinary talent who can enter Immortal Attraction Mountain. There are people with great talent who cannot enter Immortal Attraction Mountain. In short, no one can figure out their thoughts." "Is there any way to enter Goddess Attraction Mountain?" Chu Li asked. He looked at Sun Yuqing. "Your Highness, do you know more secrets?" Sun Yuqing said, "It's said that disciples of Goddess Attraction Mountain need a unique physique to cultivate the unique heart technique of Goddess Attraction Mountain. Without this physique, they won't be able to cultivate the heart technique of Goddess Attraction Mountain." "The dragon taming technique?" Chu Li asked. "Yes." Sun Yuqing nodded. Chu Li frowned. "I need a unique constitution?" Sun Yuqing said, "Therefore, even if the dragon taming technique is in front of us, we won't be able to cultivate it." "That can't be right," Chu Li said. "As far as I know, to become an enlightened master, one needs to cultivate 4 types of spirit beast techniques, and the dragon taming technique is indispensable. There were many enlightened masters thousands of years ago, so it's impossible for everyone to cultivate the dragon taming technique, right? At that time, it's indeed necessary to cultivate the dragon taming technique." Sun Yuqing nodded. "Those who don't cultivate the dragon taming technique can't become enlightened masters." Chu Li smiled. "Then, all enlightened masters are disciples of Goddess Attraction Mountain?" Thousands of years ago, many people could cultivate the dragon taming technique. As long as one cultivated to the Grandmaster's boundary, one could go to Goddess Attraction Mountain to obtain the dragon taming technique and comprehend the enlightened master's path. Ever since the 100,000 Hills was built and the spirit beasts were retreated to the 100,000 Hills, Goddess Attraction Mountain kept the dragon taming technique a secret and didn't impart it to outsiders. Why? Elder Su was surprised. Because those who don't have the physique will die if they cultivate the dragon taming technique. Sun Yuqing sighed. It's also a form of mercy. Chu Li pondered. This type of physique can make up for the lack of spiritual energy, right? Yes. Sun Yuqing nodded. I think it's called a spirit body. Compared to ordinary people, the absorption of spiritual energy from heaven and earth is hundreds or thousands of times more than ordinary people. It's very rare. Spirit body. Chu Li said, it's really hard to come by. Chu Li said, I heard that many people who cultivate spirit beast techniques enter the 100,000 hills to break through to the enlightened master's boundary. Are they disciples of Goddess Attraction Mountain? Sun Yuqing pouted. There are 4 types of spirit beast technique. As long as the 4 characteristics are met, there's a chance to perfect and become an enlightened master. However, the dragon taming technique can't be cultivated, so we can only substitute it with something else to see if it can be perfected. Doesn't that mean there's no chance at all? Nothing is absolute in this world. Sun Yuqing said, I heard from my father that if we can't cultivate the dragon taming technique, we can substitute it with the spirit snake transformation. Although it's far inferior to the dragon taming technique, there's still a chance. Spirit snake transformation. Chu Li frowned. However, he still decided to obtain the dragon taming technique. He smiled. The imperial family's secret warehouse should have the dragon taming technique, right? Well, Sun Yuqing shook his head. We don't dare to record the dragon taming technique, let alone teach it to outsiders. However, the imperial family has a quota for outer mountain disciples of Goddess Attraction Mountain. Every 10 years, 1 disciple can enter. Chu Li was stunned. Can the imperial family's disciples enter Goddess Attraction Mountain? Yes. Sun Yuqing nodded. However, outer mountain disciples can only stay for a year. After that, they'll have to leave Goddess Attraction Mountain. Can't they become inner mountain disciples? Chu Li asked. Sun Yuqing shook his head. The most basic requirement to become an inner mountain disciple of Goddess Attraction Mountain is to have a spiritual body. Without a spiritual body, one can't become an inner mountain disciple. Therefore, outer mountain disciples of Goddess Attraction Mountain can only stay for a year and leave after that. They can't be promoted to inner mountain. What's the point of that? Chu Li asked. Sun Yuqing smiled. Ordinary people can only hear about Goddess Attraction Mountain, but they can't see it. It's already a great blessing for the imperial family to be able to see it. What kind of blessing is it to see Goddess Attraction Mountain? Chu Li shook his head. Sun Yuqing said, once you reach Goddess Attraction Mountain, you'll be able to see the outland. What's there to see in the outland? Chu Li asked. You can't go up there anyway. Many people from the 4 major sects can go up there. Sun Yuqing said, many people think that the outland doesn't exist, but it's a lie. They'll only believe it when they reach Goddess Attraction Mountain, and then they'll be full of confidence when they cultivate. Anyway, the benefits are great. Prince, can you enter Goddess Attraction Mountain? Chu Li asked. Sun Yuqing shook his head. I've never been there. It's not my turn yet. Chu Li frowned and remained silent. He really did not know about this. It seemed like the imperial family's secrets were not accessible to ordinary people. There were countless of them. Only the imperial family's disciples can enter? Chu Li asked, can't those who aren't from the imperial family enter? That might not be the case, Sun Yuqing said. The imperial family has a quota anyway, so anyone can enter. Chu Li asked, can I cultivate the dragon taming technique after entering Goddess Attraction Mountain? Yes. Sun Yuqing nodded slowly. But you can only cultivate in Goddess Attraction Mountain, and you can only cultivate for a year. After a year, you'll have to discard the dragon taming technique and leave the mountain, and you can't teach it to anyone else. Chapter 1161. It'll be useless if you cultivate it. Isn't that a waste of time? Elder Rin said. Sun Yuqing shook his head. That's different. I heard that the dragon taming technique allows one's body to surpass that of an ordinary person. After cultivating the dragon taming technique, one's body won't regress even if it's useless. There are endless benefits. Why don't you cultivate a torso tuning technique then? Elder Rin suggested. Sun Yuqing said, torso tuning techniques have side effects, but the dragon taming technique is different. I see. Elder Rin nodded. That's not bad. It's worth cultivating. Elder Su smiled. It's useless no matter how good it is. It's not something we can encounter. Sun Yuqing nodded. Most people can't come into contact with this. I only told you that it's considered a secret of the imperial family, Brother Zhao. Prince, can someone enter the mountain if they snatch the spot? Elder Su asked. Sun Yuqing answered, as long as they have the Goddess Attraction badge, they can enter Goddess Attraction Mountain, no matter who they are. Isn't that dangerous? Elder Su frowned. Sun Yuqing smiled. It's usually kept a secret and no one else knows about it. But the princes know about it among themselves, right? Elder Su asked. Sun Yuqing nodded slowly. Prince, if it's your turn, outsiders can snatch it too, right? That's right. It's indeed dangerous. Elder Rin frowned. Sun Yuqing smiled. Normally, no one would snatch it. I heard that going to Goddess Attraction Mountain isn't as wonderful as it sounds, and they'll only have to suffer for a year. For the princes who are already working in the imperial court, it'll delay their work, and they might even refuse to go. Elder Su and Elder Rin shook their heads and sighed. It was such a rare opportunity, yet they did not want to go. There were many people who wanted to go but could not. The world was too unfair. Sun Yuqing continued, but even if they refuse to go, they won't pass it on to outsiders. They'll push it to other princes. Chu Li asked, is it to keep this a secret? It's a customary rule, Sun Yuqing answered. Elder Su and Elder Rin shook their heads. Chu Li pondered and did not say anything else. Chu Li had already read from Sun Yuqing's mind that this was the year when the fairy attraction badge would be issued, and it just so happened that it was the sixth prince's turn. Sun Yuqing did not reveal these secrets of the imperial family to Chu Li out of gratitude. Instead, he had an ulterior motive. Sun Yuqing could tell that Chu Li wanted to go to Goddess Attraction Mountain, so he deliberately lured Chu Li to deal with the sixth prince. Even if he could not kill the sixth prince, he could still use Chu Li to weaken the sixth prince's strength. Chu Li shook his head and sighed to himself. None of these princes were easy to deal with. Sun Yuqing glanced at Chu Li. When he saw that Chu Li was not asking any further questions, he could only shut his mouth and smile. Every year, there are people who try to snatch the fairy attraction badge, but unfortunately, none of them succeed. The immortal attraction token is not that important. Elder Su smiled and said, so what if they have the immortal attraction token? So what if they have cultivated the art of dragon control? Who would have the guts to barge into the 100,000 mountains now? They are really crazy. 100 years ago there were 2 of them. In the past 100 years there have been none. Oldrin shook his head and said, everyone knows that there is no hope, so they don't want to die for nothing. This topic was a little heavy, so the 2 of them stopped talking about it. Chu Li suddenly frowned and turned to look to the west. He said in a deep voice, since the 3 of you are here, why are you hiding and sneaking around? Clap, clap. Applause was heard as a handsome young man appeared on the treetop. Under the watery moonlight, he wore a green robe and had a jade-like face. His eyes were brighter than the stars in the sky. As he clapped, he praised, as expected of a powerful person who has killed more than 100 masters. Chu Li frowned and asked, who are you? This handsome young man's cultivation level was so high that it was not inferior to his. The handsome young man smiled faintly and said, Liang Inga. Liang Inga. Chu Li frowned and muttered to himself. He looked at Elder Su, Elder Rin, and Sun Yuqing. He had heard of Liang Inga's name before. Elder Su and Elder Ren's expressions turned ugly. Another young man whose cultivation level was far higher than theirs. Elder Su scoffed and said, could you be the pavilion master of Mysterious Pavilion, Liang Inga? I am indeed the pavilion master of Mysterious Pavilion. Liang Yinga nodded with a smile and gave a fist salute. I apologize for startling the four of you. It's said that the pavilion master of Mysterious Pavilion is young, but I didn't expect him to be so young. Elder Su frowned and scoffed. Pavilion Master Liang has always been elusive. Being able to meet Pavilion Master Liang today makes my trip to the Zheng dynasty worthwhile. Chu Li said, This is the Fu dynasty. Pavilion Master Liang, how dare you? Aren't you afraid that the Fu dynasty will be unhappy and destroy Mysterious Pavilion? It's very easy. Liang Yinga said, After I kill you, I'll put the blame on the Fu dynasty. Naturally, there won't be any trouble. The four of you don't have to worry, this matter won't involve Mysterious Pavilion. His words were casual and seemed to be mocking them as if everything was under his control. How arrogant! Elder Rin scoffed. Do you think you can destroy us all by yourself? I'm not that arrogant, so I brought 2 masters with me, Liang Yinga said with a smile. 2 gray-robed elders slowly appeared beside him and stared coldly at the 4 of them. These 2 old men had white hair with black roots and white ends. Their faces were ruddy and smooth like a baby's, as if they had regained their youth. Their cultivations were deep, and they had around 300 years of cultivation. Just by standing there, they naturally gave off an imposing aura that could topple mountains and overturn seas. Elder Su and Elder Ren looked nervous. They frowned at Sun Yuqing and then at Chu Li. Young Zhao will hold them off. You take young master and leave first. Chu Li shook his head. We can't. The situation suddenly changed, and they were instantly at a disadvantage. Chu Li calculated that it would be easy for Liang Yinga to deal with Elder Su and Elder Ren. If Liang Yinga kept him occupied, it would not be difficult for the 2 elders to destroy Elder Su and Elder Ren. He turned to look at Sun Yuqing. Young master, we can only perish together. We can't escape? Sun Yuqing asked. Chu Li said, I'm afraid we can't survive, but we can use the Fu dynasty to destroy them and avenge ourselves. Sun Yuqing frowned and remained silent. Liang Yinga laughed. Brother, you're really naive. Chu Li did not look at him, and only stared at Sun Yuqing. Sun Yuqing looked at Elder Su and Elder Ren, then at Chu Li and said, All right, I'll drag them down with me even if I die. Chu Li smiled and disappeared into the forest in a flash. Then, he shouted, Liang Yinga is here. Zheng Dynasty's Mysterious Pavilion, Liang Yinga is here. His voice was like a sudden clap of thunder that resounded through the night sky. Everyone within a few miles could hear him. Liang Yinga's expression changed, and he pounced at Sun Yuqing. Chu Li's move instantly disrupted Liang Yinga's rhythm and plan. He was forced to attack immediately and kill the 4 of them in the shortest time possible. Elder Su and Elder Ren stood in front of Sun Yuqing and waved their palms at Liang Yinga. Get lost! Liang Yinga uttered and hit Elder Su and Elder Ren with his palms. Bang! Bang! The 2 of them flew out. Liang Yinga's palm energy chased after them again. The 2 of them spat out a mouthful of blood in the air. They did not even have time to perform their secret skills as the strange palm energy rampaged through their internal organs, causing them to spit out another mouthful of blood. Chu Li's shout in the forest was endless, and his voice seemed to overlap. Zheng Dynasty's Mysterious Pavilion, Liang Yinga is here. Zheng Dynasty's Mysterious Pavilion, Liang Yinga is here. Liang Yinga punched at Sun Yuqing. Chapter 1162. P.S. Update complete. Liang Yinga's handsome face seemed to be covered with a layer of frost. He flashed behind Sun Yuqing and punched him again. Sun Yuqing twisted his body again and avoided the punch. Interesting. Liang Yinga smiled and shook his head. He felt that he had underestimated this prince. He thought that he was an idiot who could be killed in one move. Chu Li suddenly appeared in front of Liang Yinga and waved his hands. Tsk tisk. The flying blade whistled and instantly hit Liang Yinga. The flying blade pierced through without any obstruction. Liang Ying's shadow had already appeared in front of Sun Yuqing and punched him. Sun Yuqing avoided the punch again. The two gray-robed elders pounced on Sun Yuqing and attacked with their palms at the same time. Their fist force was silent and as solid as a stone. Sun Yuqing's body technique was amazing. He twisted and dodged the attack. His hair was already messy, and he seemed to be in a mess. Liang Ying and the others ignored Chu Li and wanted to kill Sun Yuqing as soon as possible. Chu Li frowned. Among all the people he had seen, Liang Ying's body technique was the fastest and most mysterious. He could actually avoid the light blade. However, he might be able to avoid it, but the two elders might not. He suddenly appeared behind the two gray-robed elders and waved his hands. The energy blade whistled. The two gray-robed elders thought that it was easy for Liang Ying to avoid the light blade, but they did not expect it to be so fast. When they wanted to avoid it, the blade was already close. The two of them moved like ghosts and used their profound cultivation to activate their light body technique to barely avoid being hit. Their shoulders were hit, and blood gushed out like a fountain. When they sealed their acupuncture points, they were already far away from Chu Li. They appeared in front of Sun Yuqing and continued to press their palm force. Sun Yuqing's body technique was mysterious, but he could not resist the three's attacks. Bang! He flew out and was hit in the chest by Liang Ying. Chu Li frowned and suddenly appeared in the air. He grabbed Sun Yuqing and flew away. Liang Ying and the others followed closely. Elder Su and Elder Ren landed heavily on the ground. They were seriously injured, and their expressions were complicated. They did not know whether they should be happy or sad that they had become burdens that no one cared about. Chu Li was as fast as lightning. He pulled Sun Yuqing along like a shadow. Sun Yuqing felt that everything in front of him was distorted. Liang Ying and the other two were in hot pursuit, but they could not catch up. All of a sudden, Sun Yuqing spat out a mouthful of blood. His body went limp and became as heavy as a rock. He could no longer activate his light body technique. Chu Li turned around and asked, "Are you all right? I won't die." Sun Yuqing took out a pill bottle from his inner pocket, removed the stopper, and poured the contents into his mouth. "It seems like I won't be able to escape today," Chu Li said. "There's still a chance of survival." Sun Yuqing scoffed. "I still have a trump card that I haven't used yet." Chu Li looked at him, curious as to how long he could hold it in. Sun Yuqing did not seem to be scheming, but he was a formidable person who was extremely patient. Both of Sun Yuqing's feet left the ground as if he was riding on the wind. Chu Li carried him as he flew. Chu Li absorbed all the spiritual energy within a 10-mile radius and converted it into inner energy to activate his light body technique. At this moment, he still did not use the power of heavenly demonic or God's limbs. Sun Yuqing answered, "I have a rare treasure that belonged to my father, and it's comparable to an enlightened master's attack." Chu Li was surprised. "Why don't you use it then?" "I can only kill one," Sun Yuqing replied. "Even if I kill one, there are still two left. I can deal with the remaining two," Chu Li hurriedly said. Sun Yuqing gritted his teeth. "Then I'll use it." Chu Li slowed down. It would be fortunate if he could use Sun Yuqing to get rid of Liang Ying. Liang Ying's cultivation level was not inferior to his, so he must have had many fortuitous encounters and was gifted. Chu Li was not the only genius and lucky person in this world. With such a person in charge of Mysterious Pavilion, once he died, Mysterious Pavilion would lose its backbone, and it would be easy to deal with them. Consort Ping's death must have been planned by Liang Ying, so King Ping's hatred should have been mostly appeased when he found out about Liang Ying's death. Liang Ying kept a close eye on Chu Li and Sun Yuqing, but he did not get too close. He had a faint feeling that Sun Yuqing was very dangerous, so he should not get too close to him. He sighed to himself. Was it true that the prince could not be killed? As the pavilion master of Mysterious Pavilion and the confidant of the Zheng dynasty's emperor, he knew many secrets of the imperial family. He knew that the princes had rare treasures with amazing power that could turn the tide of the battle at critical moments and survive even if they were put in a dead end. These rare treasures were either used to attack or escape, but they all had unpredictable power that was only inferior to an enlightened master's power. Previously, he desperately wanted to kill Sun Yuqing as soon as possible because he was worried that the Li dynasty's prince had a rare treasure, so he wanted to kill him before he used it. Unfortunately, that ugly fellow ruined his wishful thinking. Chu Li had goosebumps all over his body as he looked at the white jade ring on Sun Yuqing's hand. After Sun Yuqing wiped his blood, the aura that this ordinary jade ring emitted made him feel like he was facing an enlightened master. It was as if he was going to destroy himself at any time with a godly might. Chu Li knew about the existence of this item. Back then, he killed King An with a clean slash without giving King An a chance to react because he was afraid that he had a rare treasure with him. No matter how powerful a treasure was, it was no different from trash if it could not be used. Now that Sun Yuqing had activated the rare treasure, if Liang Yinge attacked him, he would be severely injured even if he did not die. Then, Chu Li would have a chance. Chu Li suddenly turned around and rushed toward Liang Yinge and the other two. Sun Yuqing was shocked. "Brother Zhao," Chu Li said, "go get Elders Su and Elder Ren." He could see that Liang Yinge had given up on killing them and was going to kill Elders Su and Elder Ren. The five of them were not far away. Liang Yinge and the others chased forward while Chu Li and the others went to meet them. In the blink of an eye, they were close. "Let's go!" Liang Yinge shouted and shot diagonally to the right. The other two elders cooperated well with him and were also very experienced. They felt a chill down their spines and quickly shot diagonally to the left to avoid Chu Li's attack. Chu Li disappeared from their sight like a gust of wind. Sun Yuqing pulled Chu Li and wanted to say something. Chu Li quickly shook his head. "Don't say anything." He looked behind him and shook his head. "Don't say anything." Sun Yuqing shut his mouth helplessly and did not say anything, but he was anxious. Once a rare treasure was stained with blood, it would lose its effect and become an ordinary item if it was not activated within 15 minutes. If they did not take this opportunity to escape, they would not have a chance to escape after 15 minutes and would die here. Chu Li quickly went to Elder Su and Elder Ren. When he saw them sitting cross-legged and channeling, he quickly said, "Elder Su, Elder Ren, let's leave as soon as possible." The two opened their eyes to look at Chu Li and Sun Yuqing and asked in confusion, "Did you kill Liang Yinge?" Chu Li shook his head. "We're not afraid of them now. Let's go." Liang Yinge stood on a treetop far away and said, as expected of a prince, "Liang Yinge, do you dare to come over?" Sun Yuqing sneered. Liang Yinge smiled. "Have a safe journey, Prince. I won't be sending you off. The next time you come to the Zheng dynasty, you must visit Mysterious Pavilion as a guest." "Humph." Sun Yuqing was too lazy to argue with him. He was anxious because he did not know if Liang Yinge knew about the secret of the rare treasure. As the pavilion master of Mysterious Pavilion, he might know about it. Chu Li asked, "Elder Su, Elder Ren, can you hurry?" "No problem." The two stood up. "Let's go then," Chu Li said. He glanced at Liang Yinge. "Pavilion Master Liang, we'll meet again. That's for the best. Forgive me for not seeing you off." Liang Yinge smiled. Chapter 1163. Suddenly, a sharp whistling sound rang out, like a huge wave, pouring into their ears in the blink of an eye. Chu Li's expression changed, and he quickly said, "Let's go." He grabbed Sun Yuqing and ran. Elder Su and Elder Ren knew that something was wrong, so they ignored their injuries and followed behind. Liang Yinge and the other two flew away too. When the four figures appeared, Chu Li and the others had disappeared, leaving only traces of a fight. The four elders scanned the marks on the ground and scoffed. They leaned over to observe carefully and saw a fat elder's palm print on the ground. It was Liang Yinge's palm print. Another thin elder came to the spot where Chu Li's flying blades were. Every time Chu Li shot a flying blade, he had the habit of retrieving it regardless of whether it hit its target or not. The thin elder came to the spot where the flying blade was, but he could not see the blade's mark. He stared at the deep pit on the ground thoughtfully. Then, he went to the trees next to him to search and found the knife marks again. With a serious expression, he turned to look at the other 3 elders and said, "Light blade. Someone from the Holy Church of Light?" The other 3 elders came over. The thin elder pointed at the mark on the tree and said, "This isn't a real blade, it's a condensation of inner energy. This person's cultivation level is amazing. What's more, his light blade realm is very profound. He's definitely not an ordinary person. Such a profound light blade. Could it be that Sun Mingyue came personally? Sun Mingyue won't come to the Fu dynasty easily. Who could it be then? I heard that apart from Sun Mingyue, there's another person in the Holy Church of Light who has a profound light blade that no one can compare to." A square-faced elder frowned. "I think he's called Zhao Dai." "Zhao Dai. I've heard of him. He's a rising star in the Holy Church of Light, a genius among geniuses. The other person's cultivation level isn't weak either." The plump elder said, "Looks like it's that Liang. He's getting more and more daring. He's young and has a profound cultivation level, so it's inevitable that he's bold." One of the elders said, "Looks like Liang and Zhao Dai fought. It's a fight between a dragon and a tiger. Should we chase after them?" Someone asked. Of course. The chubby old man was surprisingly tough. He said in a deep voice, "If we don't teach them a lesson, they'll think that the Fu dynasty is made of mud. It's best if we can kill them. Judging from their cultivation bases, it won't be easy to kill them." An old man looked down at the mud pit on the ground and shook his head. "Even if the 4 of us work together, we might not be able to kill one. He's so hot-tempered at such a young age. Once he starts to fight, it'll be really troublesome. So we're just going to let it go? Forget about Liang for now. Let's deal with Zhao Dai first." "Why not deal with Liang? Liang must be accompanied by a mysterious pavilion's powerhouse." The chubby elder said in a deep voice, "It should be Zhao Dai's shouting." "Why are they shouting like this?" "It's because the situation is disadvantageous for them, so their abilities are weaker. Moreover, they might have already suffered a great loss, so it'll be easier for us to deal with them. As for Liang, we'll deal with him after we've dealt with Zhao Dai. Call more masters." That makes sense. After they had traveled for more than 100 miles, Elder Su and Elder Rin finally could not hold on anymore. Their injuries had worsened, so they had to sit down and channel to heal themselves. Otherwise, their lives would be in danger. They stopped in a pine forest and found an empty space. Then, they sat down cross-legged and channeled without saying much. Chu Li frowned. "Liang palm energy is strange," Sun Yuqing said. "He's cultivating the 9 kills palm." Now that he had personally experienced Liang power, he knew that his reputation was well-deserved. He could tell the power of the 9 kills palm just by looking at Elder Su and Elder Rin. Spirit medicine could not suppress it at all. 9 kills palm. Chu Li thought about it and shook his head. He had never heard of the 9 kills palm. Liang was very mysterious. Perhaps because he was the pavilion master of Mysterious Pavilion, he was able to hide his identity. Only his name was known, and very few people had seen him. He was usually a strategist. Now, it seemed that the 9 kills palm was extremely overbearing. Elder Su and Elder Rin could not disperse the palm energy, and it would flare up from time to time. If this went on, their lives would be in danger. "Elder Su, Elder Rin, let me help." With that, Chu Li sat behind Elder Su and pressed his palm on his back. Elder Su did not say anything. This was a critical moment. The 9 kills palm energy was about to break his heart meridian. If he could not stop it, his life would be in danger. However, the 9 kills palm energy was condensed and pure like a needle that kept advancing. Elder Su's inner energy was like water, but he could not stop the needle from advancing. He could only watch helplessly as it was about to pierce his heart meridian. Suddenly, a strange force surged over, and the advancing 9 kills palm energy seemed to be diverted by this force. This force was like a whirlpool that stirred the 9 kills palm energy and slowly crushed it. When this strange force left with the 9 kills palm energy, Chu Li's body instantly relaxed. He let out a long sigh of relief and slowly opened his eyes. He saw that Elder Ren had opened his eyes at the same time and was exhaling a long breath. Chu Li retracted his palms and praised, "Liang Yinge is amazing." "How is it?" Sun Yuqing asked. Elder Su and Elder Rin gave Chu Li a fist salute. Chu Li shook his head. "Elders, recover quickly. We have to hurry." Sun Yuqing asked, "Liang Yinge still dares to chase after us?" "Even if Liang Yinge doesn't dare to, the people from the Fu dynasty won't let us go," Chu Li said. "Then we have to hurry," Sun Yuqing said. Elder Su and Elder Rin stood up. "Let's go then." Where are you going?" As they laughed coldly, the 4 elders seemed to be moving slowly but were actually moving swiftly. They streaked across the night sky like lightning and arrived in front of Chu Li. The chubby, round-faced elder asked, "You're Zhao Dai, right?" His gaze was like cold lightning, and his aura was terrifying. Chu Li was confused. Who's Zhao Dai? If he admitted it, there would be endless trouble, so he could only pretend to be deaf and mute. Interesting. The chubby elder laughed coldly. "You don't even dare to tell us your name. You're a disgrace to the Holy Church of Light." Chu Li asked coldly, "What are you trying to do?" He did not care if the Holy Church of Light was disgraced or not. Once the Holy Church of Light was involved, the Fu dynasty would put pressure on the Holy Church of Light, and he would be the unlucky one. He was thinking far ahead, but in the eyes of others, he was just being loyal to the Holy Church of Light. The chubby elder said, "Since you came to the Fu dynasty to stir up trouble, of course, we have to teach you a lesson." Sun Yuqing frowned and glared at him. "I'm Sun Yuqing, the 12th prince of the Li dynasty. I was passing by the Fu dynasty, but I was hunted down by the Zheng dynasty's mysterious pavilion. We didn't stir up trouble, it was Liang Yinge. His rare treasure had become useless, and he did not want to go against the Fu dynasty. Of course, he had to make himself look pitiful." "Prince?" Elder Su frowned. "You're the 12th prince?" The chubby, round-faced elder frowned at him. Sun Yuqing raised his hand and showed his white jade ring. The round-faced elder glanced at him coldly and looked at Chu Li thoughtfully. "If that's the case, you've been wrongly accused. I came to the Fu dynasty to gain experience and broaden my horizons, but I didn't expect Liang Yinge to assassinate us." Sun Yuqing scoffed. "He's crazy." All right then, you can leave." The round-faced elder nodded. "You're not allowed to stir up trouble in the Fu dynasty, or don't blame us for being ruthless." "Of course." Sun Yuqing smiled. Chapter 1164. The 4 elders looked at Chu Li for a while before they finally snorted and fluttered away. Elder Su gritted his teeth and watched them leave before he said hatefully, "How overbearing." He was extremely indignant. As the prince's bodyguard, he actually had to swallow his anger and even wanted the prince to compromise himself. This was truly a disgrace. He was old now, and if he was younger, he would have long since made his move. He glanced at Chu Li and shook his head while sighing. Zhao Dai was really able to keep his composure. Chu Li said, "We can't afford to offend these 4 fellows." "They're more powerful than Liang Yinge?" Elder Rin asked. Chu Li shook his head. "They're not as powerful as Liang Yinge, but once they fall out, more masters will come. There are many masters in the Fu dynasty. If he were himself, he would not hesitate to teach them a lesson. However, he had 3 burdens with him. Once the masters from the Fu dynasty arrived, he would definitely die. Elder Su said, although the Fu dynasty is powerful, it's not easy to find masters with more than 300 years of experience. Chu Li smiled but did not think much of it. The Fu dynasty had 8 major sects, so they already had many grandmasters. As time passed, there would naturally be more grandmasters with more than 300 years of experience. He had seen the Fu dynasty before and knew that it was not an exaggeration to say that there were many masters in the Fu dynasty. The Li dynasty was far from the Ji dynasty. They continued their journey. When the sky was almost bright, they rested in a cypress forest. Chu Li's expression darkened as he said, "Liang Yinge is here again." He. Liang Yinge's voice drifted over. He appeared with 4 elders and smiled as they stood on the treetop. "We meet again. How have you been?" "Hypocrite!" Sun Yuqing scoffed. He looked at Chu Li. This time, they did not have a trump card. Liang Yinge had brought more and stronger people with him. If the situation worsened, they would not be able to survive. Chu Li frowned and remained silent. He secretly sighed. Liang Yinge's actions were unexpected and extremely bold. He actually dared to chase after them again. Was he not afraid that the Fu dynasty would find trouble with him? Elder Su and Elder Ren looked at each other and their hearts sank. Elder Su whispered, "Young Zhao, bring the prince away first. I'll deal with him with Elder Ren." Chu Li shook his head. "It's useless. Elder Su, Elder Ren, it looks like we'll have to risk our lives." As soon as he finished speaking, his body abruptly swelled up. His eyes were bloodshot, and the muscles on his face were twisted, making him look hideous and terrifying. He snorted coldly and said, "Surnamed Liang, do you think you've got us?" "Hee, Brother Zhao, why are you so angry? It's bad for your body." Liang Yinge laughed. He was secretly shocked. He did not expect Chu Li to be so decisive and use the secret skill right away. Chu Li said, "If I can't survive today, then I'll drag a few of them down with me." "Brother Zhao, you're overthinking things. We, the mysterious pavilion, will always welcome such a talented person. Brother Zhao, you don't have to change your allegiance and betray the Holy Church of Light. You just have to be a high official in the mysterious pavilion and help us out once in a while." Liang Yinge smiled. "As for the 12th prince, we're only inviting him over as a guest. Of course, we won't do anything too extreme and trigger a war between the 2 countries, right?" His voice was amiable, and his words were sincere and convincing. Chu Li scoffed. "What a joke!" Sun Yuqing said, "Pavilion leader Liang, you want to use me as a hostage to ask for benefits from the Li dynasty, right?" Hee. Liang Yinge said helplessly, "Prince, you're smart. But don't worry, Prince, we'll be respectful and won't bring shame to your identity. If I become a hostage, I won't be able to face Father anymore." Sun Yuqing shook his head. "It's better to kill me. Prince, you need to know that the situation is more powerful than you are. A wise man knows better than to fight when the odds are against him. Even if the Li dynasty suffers some losses, you'll still be useful. You can work hard in the future and take it back." Liang Yinge laughed. "It's much better than dying here, isn't it? As long as there's life, there'll be firewood." Elder Su and Elder Ren were moved. They were ready to fight to the death, but they knew that they could not save Sun Yuqing even if they died. It would be a pity for a prince to die like this, but they could always get back at him in the future. Chu Li turned and said, "Elder Su, Elder Ren used the secret skill." "Yes." Their bodies suddenly expanded and then shrunk. They were even smaller than before, and they looked thin and strong. Their bodies were filled with an eerie aura, and their eyes were so cold that no one dared to look at them directly. Chu Li stared coldly at Liang Yinge. "Aren't you afraid that the Li dynasty will take revenge and kidnap the Jing dynasty's prince?" Hee, there aren't many princes in the Jing dynasty, and each of them is closely protected. Moreover, their cultivation levels are high, so we're not afraid of being kidnapped." Liang Yinge smiled and shook his head. Thank you for your concern, Brother Zhao. Chu Li sneered. It seems that pavilion leader Liang has never suffered losses. Well, Liang Yinga smiled and nodded. Ever since I took over the position of pavilion leader, I've been very careful in everything I do. I don't dare to make any mistakes. Chu Li said, Pavilion leader Liang has miscalculated today. Let's perish together. Hee. Liang Yinga shook his head and laughed. Brother Zhao, why do you have to be so stubborn? Is it worth it for a master like you to die for someone else? Such a master should be in a high position, like me, so that his life will not be in vain. He saw that Chu Li and the others had used their secret skills, so he tried his best to stall for time. There was a time limit for secret skills to be used, and the longer it was used, the weaker its power would be. The 3 people who had used their secret skills had powerful lethality. If the 5 of them did not want to be injured, they would have to use their secret skills. However, once they used their secret skills, they would be entangled with the 4 people from the Li dynasty. If other masters appeared and they were taken advantage of, they would become a joke. Therefore, the best strategy was to stall for time, break their fighting spirit, and try to appease them until the time limit for the secret skills was over. Then, it would be a success. Chu Li said coldly, I've been ordered by the saint to protect the 12th prince. If the prince falls into your hands, it'll be the time of my death. You can go back and ask for reinforcements to snatch the prince back. Liang Yinga smiled. Chu Li shook his head. It's disdainful to run away. Instead of that, it's better to perish together. We'll be companions on the road to hell. Let's do it. He took a step forward like a ferocious tiger descending the mountain with great power. If Chu Li unleashed his full cultivation level, it would be easy for him to kill any one of them. The 4 elders opposite him had sharp instincts. They sensed great danger and could not help but want to avoid it. Liang Yinga waved his hand. Retreat. The 4 elders and Liang Yinga retreated at the same time and disappeared into the forest. They wanted to avoid the attack temporarily and wait for the 3 people's secret skills to lose their effectiveness before attacking. Sun Yuqing looked at Chu Li in confusion. Brother Zhao, aren't you going to risk your life? Chu Li shook his head. Did Brother Zhao ask for help from 9th elder sister? Sun Yuqing smiled. Chu Li shook his head again. Elder Su and Elder Ren's bodies suddenly swelled, and they stopped using their secret skills. Young Zhao, what's your trump card? Elder Su asked. Elder Ren said, It's a stalling tactic, right? Chu Li nodded. It's a stalling tactic. Elder Su said, If the saint comes, we won't have to fear this Liang guy. He glared at the direction where Liang Yinga and the others disappeared. He knew that they must not have gone far and were hiding in the dark to watch him. Once they relaxed, they would disturb them so that the 4 of them would be exhausted and lose the ability to perish together. Chapter 1165. Them. Elder Su was surprised. Chu Li smiled. Since they found us so quickly, it won't be difficult for them to find Liang Yinga. They should be here soon. At this point, he raised his voice and shouted, 4 seniors from the Fu dynasty, how about we join forces to eliminate Liang Yinga? He had previously seen the Fu dynasty's 4 elders plan to deal with Liang Yinga. With their tracking skills, it would be fine if Liang Yinga returned to the Jing dynasty, but if he dared to come again, they would quickly catch up. Earlier on, he used a secret skill and talked nonsense with Liang Yinga to buy time for the Fu dynasty's 4 masters to track him. At this moment, he finally saw the 4 of them appear. His voice was like rolling thunder, resounding through the sky where the first rays of dawn had just appeared. He turned his head and said, Prince, stay here. Elder Su and Elder Ren, follow me. With that, he drifted away. Elder Su and Elder Ren quickly followed him. Sun Yuqing paced around anxiously. He knew that he was a burden. Not only could he not help them, but he would also affect their spirit. It was better to stay here, but he could not see the situation over there. In the end, he could not help but chase after them. He chased into a forest and saw that Chu Li and the other two were already fighting with Liang Yinge and the others. The Fu dynasty's 4 elders also joined in, so there were 7 of them against Liang Yinge's 5. Chu Li was entangled with Liang Yinge while the other 6 dealt with the mysterious pavilion's 4 elders. Chu Li was unpredictable like a ghost, and his face could not be seen clearly. Every time, he would block in front of Liang Yinge and prevent him from saving his companions. Liang Yinge's handsome face was calm and solemn without showing any anxiety. His body movement technique was strangely fast, comparable to Chu Li's, and he was like a ghost. Both of his palms formed a series of illusions, and his palm energy was surging like waves. Even though he was so far away, Sun Yuqing could still feel the murderous intent as if he was being pricked by needles. Sun Yuqing was shocked. Even if his step technique was mysterious and unpredictable, he could not save his life under such a powerful palm energy. It seemed that Liang Yinge was being forced to fight desperately. Chu Li asked as he fought, "How did pavilion leader Liang train to be so skilled?" Liang Yinge was no longer as calm and confident as before, and he no longer had the mood to talk. He kept his mouth shut and waved his palms without saying a word. From time to time, his figure would flash, and he would rush to the side of the 4 elders, but Chu Li would always be 1 step ahead of him and block him. Chu Li wanted to use his light blade beside the 4 elders, but he was blocked by Liang Yinge. The 2 of them were entangled with each other and could not interfere with the other battle. Chu Li could not see through Liang Yinge's thoughts. Liang Yinge's heart technique was profound and could block prying, but the omniscient mirror could still clearly see his subtle expressions and movements. Coupled with the nature restoration manifestation, he could always predict the first move. However, Liang Yinge seemed to have the same ability. Chu Li had an idea to deal with Liang Yinge's companions first so that Liang Yinge could seize the opportunity to stop him. Liang Yinge was wearing his treasured clothing, so he was not afraid of the flying blades. He weakened Chu Li's combat strength and suppressed Chu Li in all aspects. If it were not for the omniscient mirror and the nature restoration manifestation, Chu Li would not have won without using the heavenly demonic power. Liang Yinge suddenly let out a clear whistle, and his body suddenly became thin. The whistle was loud and clear, and it sounded like it could stop the clouds from moving. After the whistling sound, Liang Yinge suddenly turned into 4 figures. It was hard to tell whether they were real or fake. They abandoned Chu Li and pounced on the other side. Chu Li moved like a ghost and blocked in front of one of the figures again. Bang! Their palm energies collided. Chu Li slid 10 meters in the air and landed in Sun Yuqing's direction. Chu Li turned to look at Sun Yuqing, who was in the treetops, and shook his head to signal him not to come out. Pfft! Chu Li continued to slide in the air and spat out a mouthful of blood. He yelled, "Be careful!" Liang Yinge, who had used a secret skill, suddenly increased his power by more than 10 times. He turned into 4 vague shadows that were unpredictable. After injuring Chu Li with 1 palm strike, he appeared behind the chubby, round-faced elder and slapped him with his palm. Bang! The chubby elder was also sent flying and spat out a mouthful of blood in the air. He slid more than 10 meters away and ended up like Chu Li. Chu Li hurriedly said, "Elder Su, Elder Rin, step back." Elder Su and Elder Rin quickly retreated from the battle. Liang Yinge's 4 figures shot toward the 3 Fu dynasty masters at the same time. The 3 Fu dynasty masters spat out blood and were sent flying. "Let's go!" Liang Yinge yelled in a deep voice. The 4 unpredictable figures went into the forest at the same time, and the 4 masters followed closely behind and disappeared into the forest. The chubby, round-faced elder turned to stare at Chu Li with a cold and dissatisfied gaze. Chu Li looked calm. Liang Yinge's martial arts is too strong. Elder Su and Elder Rin are both injured. They're not his match. Liang Yinge had concealed his cultivation level earlier. If he did not have the omniscient mirror and the nature restoration manifestation, he would not be Liang Ying's match with his cultivation level. If he did not conceal his heavenly demonic power, he could still fight. The chubby elder glared at him and took a deep breath before exhaling. Chu Li was telling the truth, but he was really annoyed that they could not subdue Liang Ying even though they had teamed up. It was really embarrassing for him to let Liang Ying escape so easily. Chu Li said, "He won't dare to come to the Fu dynasty again. I've taught him a lesson." The chubby elder said coldly, "You'd better hurry back to the Li dynasty. Liang Ying won't stop until he achieves his goal. He'll look for you again." Chu Li gave a fist salute. "Thank you for saving my life, seniors." "No need for that." The chubby elder scoffed and glided away. Chu Li turned to look at Elder Su and Elder Ren. The two elders did not look too upset. Their injuries had not worsened. "We can't stop to heal ourselves. Let's hurry back." Sun Yuqing emerged from the forest. "Elder Su, Elder Ren, can you do it?" "No problem," the two of them answered. Sun Yuqing looked at Chu Li with concern. "Brother Zhao, how's your injury?" "It's fine," Chu Li said. "It's more important to hurry." "All right, let's go," Sun Yuqing said. The four of them hurried on with their journey again. They took spirit pills while running. The next morning, they finally entered the Li dynasty's territory. They entered Tiannan City, which was the southernmost part of the Li dynasty, and went straight to the governor's residence. The governor was naturally very enthusiastic when he saw the prince. Sun Yuqing stopped the governor's enthusiasm and only asked for a courtyard. The four of them were exhausted and went back to their respective houses to rest for the day. In the evening, they came out of their houses in high spirits and gathered in the courtyard for dinner. There was a red lacquer square table in the courtyard that was brightly lit. Chu Li and the other three ate happily while facing the table full of delicious food. Chu Li suddenly frowned and said, "There are assassins." 6 men in black quietly avoided the protectors of the governor's residence and arrived at the courtyard where they were. The 6 of them had a profound cultivation level that was not inferior to Elders Su and Elder Ren. Chu Li's mind raced. The person who sent these assassins must be someone with a high position and was directly attacking them. Who was the one who spread the news that they had arrived at the governor's residence, and how did they know that they were staying in this courtyard? Clearly, someone in the governor's residence had spread the news. The 6 men in black entered the courtyard and rushed over without saying a word. They unsheathed their long swords at their waists, and a chilly aura instantly filled the courtyard. The temperature in the courtyard seemed to have dropped by a few degrees, and it was chilly. Sun Yuqing scoffed. "Who are you?" Chu Li replied, "They should be the 6th prince's men." Chapter 1166. P.S. The 39th Alliance leader has been born. It's not pleasant to forget the Alliance leader. "Men, there's an assassin." Elder Su's shout was like a thunderclap exploding in the night sky. He had learned this trick from Chu Li. This was not the Zheng dynasty or the Fu dynasty, but the Li dynasty. The prince was of noble status, and if anything happened to him, the governor's future would be ruined. 6 men in black drew their swords and stabbed Sun Yuqing. Chu Li shook his head and appeared beside them in a flash. Then, he kept waving his hands and shot out energy blades one after another. 2 blades were shot at one person at the same time. The combination of the omniscient mirror and nature restoration manifestation with the light blade was almost invincible against those with a lower cultivation level. 2 men in black were instantly shot in the center. The other 4 men in black saw that the situation was not good, so they turned around and disappeared in the blink of an eye. The protectors of the governor's residence were injured, and there was a commotion. It only calmed down when the governor hurried over. The city lord was a middle-aged man who was as tall and sturdy as a bear. He was a city lord who had accumulated military merit. He gave off a baleful aura, but he had a smile on his face as he sincerely apologized. Chu Li sized up the castellan. After the governor left, Chu Li said, "Prince, if I'm not mistaken, the governor works for the sixth prince." "He works for the sixth prince?" Sun Yuqing was surprised. Chu Li said, "He leaked the information." Sun Yuqing frowned and his face darkened. Elder Su scoffed. "I didn't expect the sixth prince to be so powerful." "The sixth prince was prepared, or the assassins wouldn't have arrived so quickly," Chu Li said. Sun Yuqing said, "It's too eye-catching to send a master." Chu Li laughed. "They're here to take advantage of us because we're injured. They didn't expect us to recover so quickly, and it's all thanks to the governor. The governor must have seen that they were pale and injured, so he thought he could take advantage of them. He did not expect them to recover so quickly, or else the six masters would not have come." Sun Yuqing said, "Sixth brother will be well behaved after this." Elder Su and Elder Rin nodded with relaxed expressions. Elder Su smiled. "With young Zhao around, we're not afraid of the sixth prince's assassination." Chu Li smiled and shook his head. Elder Rin said, "The Jing dynasty has Liang Yinge, but none of the masters around the sixth prince are as strong as Liang Yinge." They understood that Jing dynasty's mysterious pavilion would not have been able to stop Chu Li if Liang Yinge had not been there. Liang Yinge could stop Chu Li, but the others could suppress the two of them, so they were at a disadvantage. Liang Yinge's status in the Jing dynasty was far inferior to the saint, but his status in the martial arts world was higher. He was a top-notch master who was second to none and was invincible among those below the enlightened master level, so he was unscrupulous. The Li dynasty did not have Liang Yinge. There were very few grandmasters in the Li dynasty who could suppress Chu Li. As far as they knew, the sixth prince did not have such a master. With such confidence they were very relaxed. The four of them sat down and continued drinking. "Brother Zhao, do you want to go to Goddess Attraction Mountain?" Sun Yuqing raised his glass of wine and toasted Chu Li. Chu Li pondered and shook his head. "I'm very curious about Goddess Attraction Mountain, but I have no intention of going there. It's really boring." "Boring?" Sun Yuqing asked. Chu Li said, "I can only go for a year, and my dragon taming technique will be abolished. It seems that Goddess Attraction Mountain has very strict rules, and I can't stand being restrained." Sun Yuqing nodded in disappointment. He had already understood the past of Chu Li, who was disguised as Zhao Dai. He knew that Zhao Dai was rebellious and only Ninth Sister could suppress him. Even so, he turned a blind eye to the Holy Church of Light's rules and broke a lot of them. He was indeed a person who could not stand the rules and was not suitable to enter Goddess Attraction Mountain. Goddess Attraction Mountain was not the Holy Church of Light. It was not like Ninth Sister who cherished talents and could not tolerate anyone disobeying. If he entered Goddess Attraction Mountain like this, it would bode ill rather than well. Chu Li glanced at Sun Yuqing and shook his head. Sun Yuqing still did not give up and wanted to lure him to deal with the sixth prince. Few people who came from an imperial family knew how to appreciate favors. Saving him seemed to be a matter of course and was part of his duty, so he did not need to be grateful. He had just risked his life to save him, but in the blink of an eye, he was plotting against him. "Prince, the saint has warned that the disciples of the Holy Church of Light can't participate in the battle of the princes." Chu Li pondered and said, "However, I've gone through thick and thin with you, after all. If you're really in danger, I naturally won't stand idly by." Sun Yuqing gave a fist salute and smiled. "Thank you, Brother Zhao." The Li dynasty's imperial family also had a rule that forbade killing each other, but there were bad precedents. His father, the emperor, had stepped on the corpses of his brothers to ascend the throne, so the princes of this generation had the awareness of killing their brothers. In the end, if they did not kill others, others would kill them. After they had eaten and drunk their fill, they returned to their respective houses to rest. They would continue to move tomorrow. Chu Li disappeared from the house in a flash and appeared at the top of a mountain. The moonlight was like water, and Liang Inge, who was dressed in a green robe, was sitting cross-legged on a boulder at the top of the mountain. Chu Li stood on another boulder and slightly narrowed his eyes as he looked at Liang Inge. Liang Inge's body was shrouded in a layer of moonlight, and his mouth and nose breathed in and out moonlight. The moonlight seemed to be substantial as it went in and out of his mouth and nose, and his body kept shrinking and expanding. Chu Li frowned as he looked at him, feeling a great sense of danger. In this state, Liang Inge was extremely dangerous, more dangerous than ever before. The martial art that he cultivated was really mysterious, and it seemed to be related to the moonlight. Liang Inge slowly opened his eyes. His gaze was clear, bright, and sharp as if it was going to pierce through Chu Li. Chu Li took a step back and said in a low voice, "What martial art is this?" "Crescent Cryptic 9 Kills Trial," Liang Inge said indifferently. His handsome face was as calm as water, and there was no expression on it. It was obvious that he was in a state of mind to cultivate. A trace of dense killing intent was faintly discernible, obscure, and almost undetectable. Chu Li became more and more serious as he stared at Liang Inge's eyes. Liang Inge said indifferently, "The scenery here is excellent, and it's a blessing to be buried here." He lightly struck with his palm. Chu Li suddenly disappeared from where he was and appeared behind Liang Inge, shooting 2 flying blades. They only hit Liang Inge's shadow. Liang Inge suddenly appeared behind Chu Li and pressed his palm forward at an incredible speed. Chu Li turned around and met it with his palm. Bang! Chu Li flipped in the air. He secretly sighed. He had to master the Heavenly King palm as soon as possible, or else he would be at a disadvantage. Layers of palm energy hit his internal organs, and he tried his best to circulate the Earth Matrix and Reincarnation Scripture to transform it. However, this Crescent Cryptic 9 Kills trial was exceptionally pure, and he could not completely transform it. He spat out a mouthful of blood in the air and was injured again. This time, he was seriously injured as the extremely pure palm energy kept destroying his body. He kept retreating and circulated the Earth Matrix and Reincarnation Scripture to dissolve the palm energy. Liang Inge disappeared again. Chu Li closed his eyes and waved his hands. TSS, TSS. 2 blade lights shot toward a void. Liang Inge's figure flashed there and disappeared again. After spitting out a mouthful of blood, Chu Li waved his hands again and shot toward another void to stop Liang Inge from approaching. This Crescent Cryptic 9 Kills trial was too sharp, and he could not control it, so he could not let Liang Inge get close. Chapter 1167. Liang Inge's figure appeared 100 feet away and stood still on the boulder. As the night breeze blew, his green robe fluttered as if he wanted to go with the wind. Chu Li fixed his gaze on him. Liang Inge said, "You're no match for me." Chu Li said, "The Crescent Cryptic's 9 Kills trial, good martial arts. Your light blade's level of attainment is high, but it can't stop my Crescent Cryptic's 9 Kills trial." Liang Inge's expression was as calm as still water, and even a little indifferent. Chu Li knew that it was because of his cultivation, so he nodded. "Your Crescent Cryptic's 9 Kills trial is indeed powerful. I'm no match for it." Liang Inge said, "Then why did you come here to die?" Chu Li said, "How would I know how powerful your Crescent Cryptic's 9 Kills trial is if I don't fight it? Your courage is commendable. We'll meet again." Chu Li fist saluted and disappeared in front of Liang Inge like a stream of light. Liang Inge frowned as he stared at his disappearing silhouette. He did not know how Chu Li had found him, but he felt uneasy as if Chu Li would attack him at any time. He would be able to block the light blade if he was prepared, but it would be extremely dangerous if he was unprepared. He scoffed. He had reached a critical juncture in his cultivation, and once his martial arts improved, he could go to the Li dynasty to kill this guy. He could catch up to him anyway. With that thought in mind, he lost his killing intent and returned to the top of the mountain to breathe in the moonlight. Chu Li and the others returned to Jade Capital in the evening the next day. They were preparing to enter the capital through the southern gate. About a mile away from the gate, they saw a group of guards standing outside the farewell pavilion on the side of the road. They were full of energy and their eyes were sharp. They were all highly skilled killers. Elder Su frowned. "It's the sixth prince." "Humph, what's sixth brother doing here?" Sun Yuqing frowned. The four of them looked weather-beaten and dusty. They used their light body technique to travel, so they looked even more weather-beaten than riding a horse. They were slightly displeased when they saw these bright and eye-catching protectors. "Maybe he's welcoming an important person." Elder Su shook his head. "It's likely that he's recruiting a master." "Humph." Sun Yuqing's face darkened. The stronger the sixth prince was, the less hope he had for revenge. The sixth prince had a forthright temperament. He looked careless and behaved in a crude manner, but he was generous and generous. He would reward those who performed meritorious deeds, so he had recruited many experts. Sun Yuqing's strength was far inferior to the sixth prince's. It doesn't matter. No matter how many experts he recruits, can they compare to little Zhao? Elder Rin said calmly. Sun Yuqing smiled. Elder Su said, "Who exactly did he recruit? Shall we take a look?" "Forget it." Sun Yuqing shook his head. "Everyone's tired. Let's go back and rest." "Ha ha!" Suddenly, a loud laugh rang out. The guards parted to the sides, and a burly middle-aged man walked out with large strides. He was extremely handsome, and his eyes were shining. "12th brother, long time no see." "6th Imperial brother, I trust you've been well since we last met," Sun Yuqing said coldly. The sixth prince, Sun Yujing, laughed heartily and said, "I'm eating and sleeping well. I'm doing very well. On the other hand, 12th brother, you look like you're ill. Did you go out to play and run into some tough people?" "You don't have to worry about me, 6th Imperial brother," Sun Yuqing said coldly. Hatred surged in his heart, and he wanted nothing more than to kill Sun Yujing with his sword. However, he could not do so in public. Moreover, he might not be able to defeat Sun Yujing in terms of martial arts, so he could not kill him. This time, the Heavenly King Palm had disappointed him, and it seemed like revenge was still a long way off. He became more and more unhappy, and he hated Sun Yujing with anger and hatred. He coldly said, "6th Imperial brother's concern, I really can't accept it. There were a few groups of assassins who tried to assassinate me, but I killed them all. I wonder if 6th Imperial brother's men died? Were there really assassins?" Sun Yujing laughed and shook his head. "Looks like you've offended a lot of people, 12th brother. You should reflect on yourself since you're not very popular. Don't offend people recklessly and get yourself killed. My life is very tough. Rascals can't kill me." "Oh, those who get killed usually think like you. It's better to be more careful and behave yourself. You're the one who should be careful, 6th Imperial brother. If you do too many bad things, you'll get your comeuppance one day." "Haha, is this your newly recruited protector, Zhao Dai?" Sun Yujing looked at Chu Li and nodded. "He's really ugly." Chu Li narrowed his eyes and stared at him coldly. It seemed like he was angry that Chu Li killed his protector, so he spoke ill of him. Sun Yuqing chuckled. "This is Brother Zhao. 6th Imperial brother, your protectors are like clay chickens and pottery dogs compared to Brother Zhao. They're not even worth mentioning. Even if you recruit 100 martial arts masters, they won't be able to match up to Brother Zhao." "Hee, how arrogant. 100 martial arts masters won't be able to match up to one?" Sun Yujing sneered. "However, he's really daring to kill my people. Does he think that I can't do anything to him because he's backed up by 12th brother?" He stared at Chu Li and sneered. "If I want to kill you, I can do it with just a word." Chu Li looked at him indifferently without saying a word. Sun Yuqing sneered. "I didn't know that you're so capable, 6th Imperial brother. There are many things that you don't know about me." Sun Yujing sneered. Zhao, do you want to live or die? Chu Li replied, so what if I want to live or die? If you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. If you want to live, you'll have to submit to me. Sun Yujing scoffed. Chu Li shook his head and smiled without saying a word. It was not that Sun Yujing was stupid, but that he was unscrupulous and could not be bothered to use his brain to deal with someone like Chu Li. Instead, he wanted to use brute force to defeat 10 people. Sun Yujing sneered. Sixth Imperial Brother, who do you think you are? It seems like you won't give up until you see your coffin. Sun Yujing sneered. Zhao, do you really think that I can't do anything to you? Chu Li said, Sixth Imperial Prince, your words are ridiculous. You're ignorant and stupid, arrogant and ridiculous. If I were the Sixth Imperial Prince, I'd shut my mouth. Stupid? How dare you? Sun Yujing was furious, and his handsome face turned red. He did not expect Chu Li to speak in such a manner. Chu Li was so unscrupulous and disrespectful that he did not respect his identity as a prince at all. Chu Li said, You think that I won't dare to do anything to a prince like you, and that's why you dare to speak so unscrupulously? If you piss me off, I can still teach you a lesson, Sixth Imperial Prince. Ugly man, how dare you? Sun Yujing yelled. How dare you be so rude to me? Men, take him down. Yes. With a deep voice, 2 white-haired elders flew out from behind him and shot toward Chu Li. Elder Su and Elder Rin took a step forward and stood in front of Chu Li. They could tell that the 2 elders' cultivation levels were higher than theirs. It seemed like the 6th Imperial Prince had been deliberately waiting for them to kill Zhao Dai in front of everyone to regain his dignity. Chapter 1168. Slap. The crisp sound of the slap attracted everyone's attention. The protectors and onlookers widened their eyes as they stared at Chu Li in disbelief. They never thought that Chu Li would dare to slap a prince in the face, not to mention in front of so many people. Chu Li took a step back and stared at Sun Yujing, whose eyes were bloodshot and body was trembling as he glared at him. Keep your mouth shut. If you're rude again, don't blame me for being merciless. It won't be a slap next time. Ah! Sun Yujing roared into the sky and charged at Chu Li in a frenzy. Kill this ugly bastard! Chu Li went forward and slapped him again. Slap! With a crisp sound, Sun Yujing was sent flying and spat out a mouthful of blood in the air. 3 teeth came out from the blood. Chu Li easily dodged the protectors who were charging at him, and raised his voice. Prince, shall we enter the city? Let's enter the city! Sun Yujing shouted excitedly. Chu Li suddenly shot out 2 energy blade. The 2 elders who were attacking Elder Su and Elder Rin immediately retreated to avoid the energy blades. Elder Su and Elder Rin took the opportunity to retreat from the battle and went to Sun Yujing's side to protect him as they rushed toward the city gate. After Sun Yujing fell to the ground, the protectors dared not chase after Chu Li and the others. Instead, they surrounded Sun Yujing as they were afraid that something bad would happen to him. The 4 of them rushed into the city and rushed back to the 12th prince's residence before they could finally relax. Ha ha! Sun Yujing stood in front of the 12th prince's residence and laughed. Chu Li shook his head and smiled. Sun Yujing turned to look at Chu Li. Good! That was great. Brother Zhao, you had a good time. Elder Su and Elder Rin looked at Chu Li strangely and shook their heads with smiles. They would not dare to do that even if they were given 1,000 gut. Not only did it require powerful martial arts, but it also required great courage. It was outrageous and beyond their imagination, so they could not do it. Although a prince could not be lawless and run amok in this world, he was still the emperor's son. The prince could only be taught a lesson by the emperor and no one else could hit him. This concept was deeply rooted in the hearts of the people. Chu Li's 2 slaps today were not because he was powerful but because he had broken the invisible shackles. Chu Li smiled. Prince, won't the emperor punish me? He was rude first and he wasn't hurt. Sun Yujing laughed and shook his head. he won't have the guts to complain to Father. Besides, Father won't care about him because he'll think that he's incompetent. Chu Li smiled and nodded. He could tell that Sun Yuqing was delighted, but he could also guess that Sun Yuqing would start to mutter to himself after a while. It was inevitable that Sun Yuqing would feel sad for his own kind. After all, his actions had broken the customs of the world. It was disgraceful. If everyone followed his example, then these princes would not have an easy time. Come, let's enter the residence. Sun Yuqing laughed heartily. We're going to drink to our heart's content today. We won't leave until we're drunk. Chu Li shook his head. Your Highness, I shall take my leave now. Sun Yuqing looked at him in surprise. Chu Li said, My task has been completed. I need to report back to the mountain. Brother Zhao, rest here for a night, Sun Yuqing said. I still have to thank you, Brother Zhao. Chu Li shook his head and smiled. The saint will reward you. You don't have to spend money, Your Highness. I shall take my leave now. He gave a fist salute and was about to leave. Sun Yuqing quickly said, Wait. Chu Li turned to look at him. Sun Yuqing hesitated for a while before he asked, How can I contact you, Brother Zhao? Chu Li smiled. After I return to the mountain, I'll continue to be the branch leader of Gale Branch. You can look for me in Gale City. Sun Yuqing smiled. Let's keep in touch. Chu Li smiled and gave a fist salute before he disappeared. Sun Yuqing shook his head and sighed as he looked in the direction where he disappeared. It's a pity that I can't use such a person. Your Highness, you can ask the saint for him. Elder Su smiled. I think the saint is very nice to you. Ninth elder sister won't participate in the battle of the princes. Sun Yuqing shook his head. She won't ask her subordinates to help me. She made an exception this time because I'm going to Jing Dynasty, but she won't be so lucky next time. We've gone through trials and tribulations with young Zhao. We'll be more confident when we ask him for help, Elder Su said. Everyone has a weakness. Young Zhao is young, so it'll be easier to make friends with him. I hope so. Sun Yuqing sighed. Along the way, I noticed that he doesn't have any weaknesses. He doesn't seem to be interested in women or money. Elder Rin said, Maybe he likes martial arts secret manuals. What secret manuals doesn't Great Light Peak have? Sun Yuqing asked. Great Light Peak doesn't have many secret manuals from the palace's secret vault, right? Elder Rin asked. Sun Yuqing hesitated before he nodded slowly. The secret manuals from the palace's secret vault could not be leaked to outsiders, but they could not care less during critical times like this. No one would know even if they passed it to Zhao Dai. Think of a way to rope him in no matter what, Sun Yuqing said. Elder Su and Elder Rin nodded slowly. One Zhao Dai was equivalent to 100 grandmasters. This was not a lie, especially when they encountered top-notch masters. No matter how many ordinary masters there were, they would not be able to defeat one Zhao Dai. Great Light Peak's Divine Light Basilica. In the brightly lit basilica, Chu Li stood motionless and looked straight ahead. Sun Mingyue, who was dressed in a white tunic and had her face covered with a white veil, paced back and forth with her hands behind her back. From time to time, she would turn to glare at him and sneer. How impressive! Her loose white tunic could not conceal her graceful figure, and there was a unique rhythm to her gait that made her look elegant and pleasant. Chu Li looked at her without saying a word. Sun Mingyue scoffed. You're really impressive to hit a prince just like that. Chu Li said, Can't I hit a prince? Don't you know the delicate relationship between the Holy Church and the imperial family? Sun Mingyue scoffed. You're only thinking about showing off and venting your anger. Do you know how much trouble you've caused? Chu Li said, He humiliated me like that. If I don't slap him twice, the entire Holy Church will become a laughingstock. I'm not an ordinary disciple of the Holy Church, I'm a branch leader. How can I allow him to humiliate me like that? You! Sun Mingyue frowned and stared at him, but she was speechless. She also knew that from Chu Li's point of view, it was reasonable to slap the sixth prince twice to show the Holy Church's prestige. However, from the perspective of a middleman, one would think that the Holy Church of Light was bold and arrogant. From the perspective of the imperial family, it was even more disgraceful. The Holy Church did not respect the imperial family at all. Chu Li said, "Saint, no matter how you punish me, I'll still slap him twice the next time I encounter such a situation. He deserves a beating just because he's a prince." "Shut up!" Sun Mingyue scoffed. Chu Li curled his lips and said nothing. Sun Mingyue glared at him. "Zhao Dave, I'll feel uncomfortable if you don't cause me trouble for a day." Chu Li did not say a word, but he showed an unconvinced expression. Forget it, forget it." Sun Mingyue returned to the armchair behind the table and scoffed. "No matter what, you've done a great service by protecting the 12th prince this time. Your position as branch leader will be restored." Chu Li smiled. Chapter 1169. Chu Li widened his eyes and was about to speak. Sun Mingyue waved her hand to stop him. "You won't be able to return to Gale Branch for the time being." "Why?" Chu Li was displeased. "I'll be the branch leader of Gale Branch once I complete my mission." "Saint, you can't go back on your word, right?" Sun Mingyue said. "If you return to Gale Branch, you'll still be lazy." "As long as I don't delay things," Chu Li said, "I won't be in isolated cultivation for so long this time." "You'll be in isolated cultivation, right?" Sun Mingyue asked. She stared at Chu Li with her bright eyes. Chu Li nodded helplessly. "I've found the secret manual of Heavenly King Palm. I'd like to practice it. If I can master it, I'll improve further. Liang Yinghe from the Jing dynasty is better than me. I was almost killed by him. The next time I meet him, I want to take revenge." "Oh!" Sun Mingyue narrowed her eyes and slowly said, "Liang Yinghe?" Chu Li nodded. "He's the pavilion master of the Jing dynasty's mysterious pavilion. He's young, but his cultivation level is higher than mine. He's cultivating the Crescent Cryptic 9 kills. You're lucky that you managed to escape from him," Sun Mingyue said. Chu Li said, "I managed to defeat Liang Yinghe thanks to the help of the Fu dynasty's masters." "Saint, do you know what his Crescent Cryptic 9 kills is?" "The Crescent Cryptic 9 kills is an ancient martial art," Sun Mingyue said. "It's indeed powerful. It's said that it absorbs the Crescent Cryptic 9 kills into killing intent. It's the purest form of Yin and can destroy anything." "Can Heavenly King Palm restrain it?" Chu Li asked. "Heavenly King Palm?" Sun Mingyue pondered for a moment before she said, "Heavenly King Palm is also an ancient martial art that can restrain the Crescent Cryptic 9 kills. However, the Crescent Cryptic 9 kills absorbs the Crescent Cryptic 9 kills and absorbs the essence of the moonlight. There's still hope of mastering it, but not for Heavenly King Palm." "I have some understanding of Heavenly King Palm. There's hope of mastering it," Chu Li said. Sun Mingyue said, "Don't waste your time. Heavenly King Palm requires rich spiritual energy from heaven and earth. It's impossible in the current world." Chu Li said, "Where there's a will, there's a way. I think I can master it." "Fine, it's up to you." Sun Mingyue humphed. She did not dare to say that she would definitely not be able to master it. This Zhao Dai was capable of doing what others could not. He was a martial arts prodigy who had achieved such a high cultivation level in such a short period of time. Out of all the people in the cult, only she could suppress him. Chu Li said, "That's why I'm going into isolated cultivation. It won't be easy to be a branch leader elsewhere, so I'll stay at Gale Branch." Sun Mingyue remained silent. Chu Li hurriedly said, "Saint, please tell me if you have any orders." Sun Mingyue revealed a smile. Chu Li said, "It's a deal this time. Once I'm done with this mission, I'll return to Gale Branch and go into isolated cultivation." "Alright," Sun Mingyue said, "go to the Jing dynasty's mysterious pavilion." Chu Li's eyes widened. Sun Mingyue said, "Send a letter to Liang Inge." Chu Li frowned. "The saint knows Liang Inge?" Sun Mingyue nodded nonchalantly. Chu Li stared at her with his bright eyes, as if he was trying to read her mind from her face. Sun Mingyue frowned. "What's wrong? Is the saint related to Liang Inge?" "You don't have to worry about that," Sun Mingyue said impatiently. "Just send a letter for me." "Why do I have to do something as trivial as sending a letter?" Chu Li said, "Anyone will do. Your light body technique is better." Sun Mingyue said, "It's urgent." "All right." Chu Li slowly nodded. He felt uncomfortable knowing that Sun Mingyue was related to Liang Inge, as if someone had snatched something from him. Sun Mingyue picked up a letter from the table and tossed it to him. The letter slowly landed in front of Chu Li. He caught it and glanced at it. There was nothing written on the envelope. He touched it and found that it was only a thin piece of paper. "I can't know what's written in the letter, can I?" Chu Li asked. Sun Mingyue shook her head. "No." Chu Li kept the letter. "I'll send it to him immediately, but I might not be able to return safely. I might have to fight with him again." Sun Mingyue said, "Don't be obsessed with fighting." Chu Li asked, "Is it okay to kill someone from Mysterious Pavilion?" Sun Mingyue nodded. "It's okay." Chu Li frowned as he looked at her. It seemed that Sun Mingyue had a strange relationship with Mysterious Pavilion. "Stop trying to probe." Sun Mingyue waved her hand. "Don't delay, come back immediately." Chu Li fist saluted, left Divine Light Basilica, and went down the mountain. As he performed his light body technique, he took out the letter and used the omniscient mirror to read the words on the letter. There were only 2 words. "The time has come." Chu Li frowned as he pondered. There were only 2 words. He could not guess what it was even if he had the ability to do so. It seemed like the time they had agreed on had arrived. As for what time it was, he was at his wits' end and had no way of guessing. Were they working together to deal with the Ji dynasty or the Fu dynasty? Or was it some kind of agreement between them? In short, there were only 2 words. It was useless no matter how smart he was. Since both of them could block his prying, he could not see through them even if he wanted to. He could only beat around the bush, but it was fine as long as they were not targeting him. He quickly put aside his thoughts and immersed himself in the comprehension of the Heavenly King Palm. The Heavenly King Palm required an overweening spirit. The Heavenly King Palm was him, but it could not be unscrupulous. It needed to be in line with the Heavenly Heart. The Heavenly Heart was his heart, and the Heavenly Heart was his heart. Only then could the Heavenly King Palm's artistic conception be achieved. The heart technique could only be activated when it reached this artistic conception. Otherwise, it would be useless even if he knew the meridian path of the heart technique. It was a unique meridian path, and inner energy could not be channeled. Only when it was in line with the state of mind could the inner energy circulate. It was very mysterious. The inner energy cultivated by such a mysterious heart technique must be powerful, which greatly increased his expectations. Unfortunately, he could not grasp the artistic conception of the heavenly heart being his heart. He pondered and adjusted his state of mind bit by bit. This was a painstaking effort that could not be rushed. He could only succeed if he encountered it. However, if he did not encounter it, it might take a long time. The more anxious he was, the more impossible it would be. He adjusted his state of mind as he moved quickly to sense Liang Inge's location. At midnight the next day, Chu Li found Liang Inge at the top of a mountain. A full moon hung in the sky like a rotating ice wheel, sprinkling down its clear light. Liang Inge was bathed in the moonlight. He sat cross-legged on a large rock at the top of the mountain, inhaling and exhaling moonlight. As soon as Chu Li appeared, Liang Inge withdrew his moonlight and turned his head. His eyes were cold and indifferent, and the killing intent on his body was even more obscure and unpredictable. This made Chu Li even more vigilant. He felt that Liang Yinge was becoming more dangerous. This guy's martial arts was greatly improving. If this continued, he would not be a match for him the next time they met. Even if he did not hide his heavenly demonic power, he would not be a match for him. This made him feel a sense of urgency. He had to quickly comprehend the heavenly king palm. Only by mastering the heavenly king palm could he deal with Liang Yinge. His cultivation could not improve in a short period of time. He had already improved too quickly, so he needed to stabilize his foundation. "What's the matter?" Liang Yinge said lightly. Chu Li took out a letter from his pocket and flicked it gently. The letter seemed to be held by an invisible hand as it slowly fell in front of Liang Yinge. Chapter 1170. Chu Li said, "Send a reply to the saint." Liang Yinge shook his head. "Tell her that it's not the right time yet. I'll send her a letter when the time is right." Chu Li said, "If there's no token as proof, you can either write a reply or give me a token." Liang Yinge stared at him and said, "There's no need." Chu Li narrowed his eyes and sized him up. Liang Yinge stared back at him without saying a word. Their gazes met in the air, and it was as if the shadows of swords and blades were shooting out. Both of them revealed dense killing intent, and they could see each other's thoughts. They both wanted to kill the other, but one couldn't kill the other, and the other didn't have the confidence. After a while, Chu Li said, "It seems like you don't respect the saint. You're just a messenger. Don't forget your duty." Liang Yinge said, "It's not your place to interfere between the saint and me. Just go back." Chu Li frowned at him. "You're too lazy to write a letter." "Humph," Liang Yinge sneered. "Stop pestering me. I won't write a reply today. Just give up." Chu Li said coldly, "So you're deliberately making things difficult for me." "It's good that you understand," Liang Yinge said coldly. Chu Li said, "Then we'll talk after we fight." He flashed and appeared behind Liang Yinge, then waved both his hands. "TSS, TSS, TSS, TSS." His hands turned into a blurry shadow as he waved them twice. Four energy blades shrouded Liang Yinge. Liang Yinge's body technique was fast and his senses were sharp. The light blades hit his shadow, but he had already appeared behind Chu Li and pressed his 9 kills palm silently. Chu Li suddenly disappeared and reappeared behind him. Liang Yinge disappeared too. Both of their movement techniques were peerlessly swift, and they were unpredictable like ghosts. Chu Li had God's limbs, and Liang Yinge had a similar body technique. Their speed was faster than one's reaction speed, so they were evenly matched. Chu Li was certain that his God's limbs could defeat Liang Yinge from a distance, but he had no advantage in such a close distance. They were in a stalemate for a while. His body moved like a ping, changing between real and fake. In the blink of an eye, the two of them exchanged over 20 moves, but neither of them could do anything to the other. Chu Li did not panic. Instead, he activated the omniscient mirror and the nature restoration manifestation to observe patiently. 30 moves later, he shot 2 blades of energy into the void. Then 2 more blades of energy shot into the void. Then there were 2 real sabers. 3 consecutive shots were fired into the empty void where there was no one. Swoosh! For the last time, Liang Yinge's figure appeared, and his chest was stabbed twice. He shook it lightly, and the shiny flying knife fell to the ground. There were 2 holes in Liang Yinge's green robe, but the flying dagger did not manage to pierce through as it was blocked by his treasure robe. His treasured clothing was extremely powerful. Based on Chu Li's cultivation level and the power of his light blade, it was not impossible for the treasured clothing to be pierced through. Even if it could not, it was enough to injure him. Liang Yinge's expression did not change. He was not injured, and the power of the 2 flying daggers could not hurt him. What a light blade! Liang Yinge frowned as he looked at Chu Li. Zhao Dai's light blade was not powerful because it was fast, but because he could see the first move. He could shoot it 1 step ahead, and there was no way to avoid it. Under such circumstances, Only the treasured clothing could do it. Martial arts could not deal with him. Chu Li scoffed. What treasured clothing are you wearing? Liang Yinga said, the treasured clothing has no name. As long as I have the treasured clothing, you can't do anything to me. Zhao Dai, be careful. Chu Li said, relying on the treasured clothing to protect yourself, the dignified mysterious pavilion is really pitiful. The treasured clothing is also a kind of strength. Liang Yinga revealed a proud expression. The pavilion masters of Mysterious Pavilion have treasured clothing to protect themselves. A powerless person like you can't understand the beauty of power. It's better for you to go back as soon as possible. It's boring to continue fighting. He cast a sidelong glance at Chu Li with a look of disdain. Chu Li scoffed. There's no treasured clothing in this world that can't be pierced through. I'll look for a treasure knife when I go back. Liang Yinga narrowed his eyes. He had to be careful. If he could really find a treasure knife that was sharp enough to pierce through the treasured clothing, Zhao Dai would be too dangerous. It seemed that he had to get rid of him as soon as possible. As he thought of this, he became more eager to cultivate. He waved his hand and said, Please. Chu Li said, Reply. He could tell what Liang Yinga was thinking. He could not wait for Chu Li to leave so that he could cultivate. Liang Yinga frowned and thought for a while. He scoffed and took out a letter from his bosom and threw it to Chu Li. Take it back. Chu Li glanced at it and saw that there were only 3 words written in the letter. It's not time yet. He kept the letter with satisfaction and waved his hand. We'll meet again. Liang Yinga sneered at him. The next time we meet, I'll kill you. Same to you. Chu Li smiled and floated away as if he was riding the wind. Liang Yinga fiercely stomped his foot, causing the boulder to tremble slightly. After releasing his killing intent, Liang Yinga felt more comfortable. His gloominess dissipated, and he continued to cultivate. Chu Li floated away and exhaled a mouthful of foul air. He was also very depressed. Liang Yinga was so difficult to kill as if he was a porcupine. It was really hateful. Chu Li had an inexplicable hostility and killing intent toward Liang Yinga. It was as if he felt that Liang Yinga was a strong opponent and that he must kill him to feel comfortable. He rushed back to Divine Light Basilica and handed over the reply letter. Sun Mingyue tore the letter and frowned after glancing at it. Chu Li asked, Saint, what's the matter? Do you need me to help? Sun Mingyue looked at him and said, You're the branch leader now. It's fine even if you know. Chu Li looked at her with excitement. Sun Mingyue said, It's about King Ping of the Ji dynasty. Chu Li's expression darkened, but his expression did not change. King Ping. I think I've heard of him. Sun Mingyue scoffed. It seems that you don't care enough about the Holy Church of Light. Chu Li said, Didn't King Ping lose his military power and is no longer in charge? Also, it seems that the crown prince of the Ji dynasty has been decided. King Ping can't do anything about it. If nothing unexpected happens, he won't be in charge of the military anymore. Sun Mingyue nodded in satisfaction. It seemed that although Zhao Dai was busy cultivating, he was also diligent in understanding the world's affairs. He was indeed a smart man. Chu Li said, King Ping withdrew from the imperial court because his consort was killed, right? We were the ones who did it, right? No. Sun Mingyue smiled. Chu Li was shocked. It's not the Holy Church of Light? Sun Mingyue shook her head. It wasn't us. Then who was it? Chu Li asked. King Ping has a deep hatred for us. We should be the ones who did it. Mysterious Pavilion, Sun Mingyue said. Chu Li said, Killing the consort. Isn't this too much? Sun Mingyue gave him a sidelong glance and said, I didn't expect you to have tender feelings for the fairer sex. Chu Li said, I just feel that it doesn't matter how you assassinate King Ping, but to kill the consort, she's an innocent person and a weak woman. It's really inappropriate to assassinate a woman like her. There's no need to be so particular about the war between nations. Sun Mingyue said, I wanted to kill King Ping, but I didn't want to touch the consort. Liang Yinga killed the consort before me. When I tried to assassinate King Ping, I suffered a great loss. In fact, I was plotted against by him. Chapter 1171. Then why are we still working with him? Chu Li scoffed. We have to get back at him. Sun Mingyue said, he plotted against us, so we have to plot against him. However, we and Mysterious Pavilion both want to kill King Ping, so we have a higher chance of success if we work together. From what I know, once the prince is killed, his father will take action, Chu Li said. I don't think anyone can withstand the might of an enlightened master, right? Yes, Sun Mingyue said. Chu Li was shocked. A master who is going to die. Sun Mingyue nodded slowly. Chu Li said, Saint, you won't choose me, right? I haven't lived long enough. Sun Mingyue stared at him. Chu Li refused to back down and stared at her. He stared straight into her clear and beautiful eyes, and his heart kept sinking into her beautiful eyes. Fortunately, he had the omniscient mirror to stabilize his mind and prevent himself from being captivated by her, so he did not completely fall for her. Chu Li said, Saint, I don't want to go to the realm of light now. Don't worry, I won't choose you, but you're indeed a suitable candidate. Sun Mingyue looked at him thoughtfully. Chu Li said, I still want to be a patrol, an altar leader, and a priest. You're ambitious. Sun Mingyue chuckled. But you don't follow the rules, so it'll be difficult for you to become a priest. I'll take it slow, Chu Li said, as long as I make enough contributions. Sun Mingyue said, That's true. In the Holy Church of Light, martial arts and meritorious deeds were the most important. With enough martial arts and meritorious deeds, one could eventually be promoted to become a priest. Chu Li asked, Who will be sent to kill King Ping? You don't have to worry about that, Sun Mingyue said. Chu Li said, The Ji dynasty's crown prince has been appointed, so King Ping won't be able to control the military anymore. He's no longer a threat, so why send someone to die? Sun Mingyue shook her head. Once the crown prince becomes the emperor, King Ping will continue to control the military. Chu Li scoffed. The Fu dynasty is the strongest, and the other 4 countries are just puppets. Whether it's war or peace, they're all under the Fu dynasty's control. No matter how strong the Li dynasty is, they can't destroy the Ji dynasty. The Fu dynasty won't agree. Sun Mingyue looked at him in surprise. You've improved a lot. Only the royal family and the upper echelons of the top sects could see through this. Chu Li said, I only have one thought now, and that is to master my martial arts so that I can roam the world without any restrictions. As for fighting in the army, it's like child's play. It's not even worth mentioning. Your thinking is too extreme. The army is still very important. Sun Mingyue said, The Fu dynasty is everywhere, but sometimes it's not necessarily useful. Besides, without a strong army, we'll really become the Fu dynasty's puppet. Moreover, he could borrow the power of the Holy Church of Light for his own use at crucial times. His goal now was to become an enlightened master. It was difficult to become an enlightened master by himself. He could borrow the power of the Holy Church of Light, Heavenly Demonic Sect, or even Goddess Attraction Mountain. This was the only way he could become an enlightened master. The pavilion leader of Mysterious Pavilion, Liang Yinga, is a powerful person. Chu Li pondered. I originally planned to destroy Mysterious Pavilion and help King Ping take revenge. It seems like it won't be that easy. I can't defeat Liang Yinga. I've heard of him. Xiao Shi said, He's indeed a genius. Don't worry, your cultivation speed is much faster than his. Chu Li shook his head. He could see that Liang Yinga was also improving rapidly and would soon surpass him. However, he did not make any progress. Chu Li began to relax as he chatted with them. He was at ease and continued to comprehend the state of mind of Heavenly King Palm. Suddenly, He had a flash of inspiration, and a strange mentality emerged. It was as if he had become one with heaven and earth. He was the heaven and the heaven was him. He looked down on all things and saw through them. Everything in the world was like floating clouds. Everything was in the palm of his hand and everything was under his control. The channeling route of Heavenly King Palm suddenly became smooth. A wave of spiritual energy appeared out of thin air and circled along this route. It formed a unique and strange force that fell into his dantian. This force was strange. It was like a small whirlpool that kept devouring the inner energy in his dantian. The devouring speed was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, more than half of the inner energy in his dantian had been devoured. The devouring speed was getting faster and faster. Chu moved and suddenly let the surrounding spiritual energy surge into his dantian. It was then devoured by this force and transformed into the force of Heavenly King Palm without any hindrance. He stopped the life and death scripture. The force of Heavenly King Palm was still devouring the surrounding spiritual energy. Chu suddenly realized that Heavenly King Palm cultivated the spiritual energy of heaven and earth instead of inner energy. Chapter 1172. Chu suddenly struck with his palm. Bang! A muffled sound was heard as a pit was blasted open on the ground. Chu was surprised. It was just a light palm of his, and he did not use much strength, but it was so powerful. After the palm force left his palm, it seemed to be absorbing the surrounding spiritual energy at an incredible speed. In the blink of an eye, its power was enhanced. The palm force was also strange, as if it was an explosive. Chu let out a smile, but then he sighed. Unfortunately, the Heavenly King Palm was not suitable to be used now. Using it in a place lacking in spiritual energy was like a dragon swimming in shallow water. The spiritual energy in the 100,000 hills where he was now was comparable to ancient times. After the palm force of the Heavenly King Palm left his body, it would absorb the surrounding spiritual energy to enhance his power. However, if he left the 100,000 hills, the spiritual energy absorbed by the palm force would not be as dense and the power would naturally be weaker. The power of the Heavenly King Palm was based on this unique palm force. Without the dense spiritual energy, the power would be reduced and could not reach the awe-inspiring and intimidating power of ancient times. Shao Qi asked, "You've mastered it?" Chu sighed. "It was a waste of time. It's not suitable to be used outside." "What happened?" Shao Shi asked curiously. The two women were dressed in white. Their jade-like hands were dyed green and the fruits they picked were rich in sap. Chu explained the Heavenly King Palm to them. Shao Qi frowned and shook her head. It could not be helped. There were too many ancient antique studies that had been eliminated. The Heavenly King Palm was not a bad choice. Shao Shi smiled. "It's good to use it here. Didn't you want to see the spirit tiger?" Chu smiled and nodded. "That's true." Shao Shi's words comforted him. He wanted to cultivate to become an enlightened master and become a god in the 100,000 hills. The 100,000 hills was the key. If he had the Heavenly King Palm to deal with the spirit beasts, it would be easier. He was only at the beginner level of the Heavenly King Palm. If he wanted to master it, he would need to continue cultivating. Shao Shi asked, "With this, can you defeat Liang Yinge?" Chu shook his head. "Is that guy so difficult to deal with?" "He's been hiding his strength. The martial arts he displayed were only at the 6th or 7th level." Chu said, "I'm not as good as his endurance. He's a strong opponent." "If you can't deal with him, can't you fulfill King Ping's condition?" Shao Shi frowned. Chu smiled and said, "Don't worry, I can win over King Ping. However, it's still too early to deal with Suin, so there's no need to rush. There are still 10 years left." "That's true," Xiao Shi smiled. Shao Qi gently struck Chu with her palm. Chu knew what she was trying to do, so he struck out with the Heavenly King Palm. Bang! A loud explosion was heard from the center of their palms. A strong gust of wind surged, sweeping the soil and withered grass on the ground to both sides. It was as if a violent gale had blown past, instantly pushing Xiao Shi and Xiao Qi away. Xiao Qi quickly reached out to hold Xiao Shi and looked at Chu Li in surprise. Chu Li smiled. "Did you see its power?" "Amazing!" Xiao Qi exclaimed. Of course, she knew that Chu Li's internal energy was on par with hers, but the result was like this. She could not even withstand a single blow. The palm energy of the Heavenly King Palm was indeed powerful. It's so powerful. Although its power has been weakened, it's still very powerful, right? Xiao Shi asked. Chu Li pondered for a moment. We can go back and give it a try. Let's go back, Xiao Shi said hurriedly. She took the basket and placed the fruits in it. She could not wait to go back. Chu Li held the two women in his arms and disappeared from Spirit Crane's Peak. He appeared in his courtyard. Xiao Qi launched another palm attack. Chu Li met it with the Heavenly King Palm. Bang! A muffled sound was heard, and a strong gust of wind surged between the two. Xiao Qi took a step back and shook her head. Compared to the previous power, it was a world of difference, although it was still slightly stronger than a normal palm energy. Looks like it can only be used over there. Xiao Qi shook her head. Xiao Shi frowned. The spiritual energy here is already very rich. If it's outside, it'll be worse. Chu Li's courtyard was planted with the Glory's Will Tree, so the spiritual energy was a few times richer than usual. The air was fresh, and the progress of martial arts cultivation was also 2 to 3 times faster. The palm energy of the Heavenly King Palm was far better here than outside. Looks like it can't be used anymore, Chu Li said. Xiao Qi said, let's find another one. Xiao Shi frowned. Is there really no other way? Can we change the heart technique? Chu Li shook his head. He still did not understand the mystery of the Heavenly King Palm and why it was so powerful. It should be based on the characteristics of spiritual energy. After all, spiritual energy and inner energy were different. As for how they were different, no one knew. Although Chu Li had the omniscient mirror, he did not understand the difference. However, he was ready to study it. With the omniscient mirror, he had an advantage over others. He might be able to understand the mystery and modify the Heavenly King Palm, turning it into a palm technique that was more suitable for this era. Xiao Qi said, the situation in the court has changed. The Crown Prince is starting to supervise the country. He's starting so early? Chu Li frowned. The Crown Prince supervising the country was equivalent to the Crown Prince carrying out the duties of the Emperor. He would decide everything in the court and only consult the Emperor on important matters. The Crown Prince's authority was at the peak. Xiao Qi said, looks like the Emperor is determined to help King Jing ascend the throne. What's the big move in the court? Chu Li asked. The Crown Prince is making a bold move to reorganize the court. Xiao Qi frowned. He took down many officials, including those who were corrupt. A new emperor brings his own courtiers. He's already starting to train his own team. Chu Li sighed. In the court, which official did not take bribes? These officials who were removed from their positions did not do so because of corruption. It was nothing more than a failure in the political struggle, which was why they ended up like that. That's right. Xiao Shi frowned. In this case, even if Suan returns in the future, he won't be able to stand firm in the court. The entire court was filled with the Crown Prince's people. Once Suan entered the court, he would not be able to move an inch and would be ostracized. It would be difficult for him to achieve anything, and the throne would be far away. Does King An have any confidants in the court? Chu Li asked. Xiao Shi shook her head. His position is too low, he's not qualified enough. Moreover, everyone recognizes King Jing. Even if he has confidants, he won't come back seeing that we're orphans and widows. Chu Li nodded thoughtfully. Head Chief Chu Li of King An's imperial residence, come and fight. Suddenly, a shout shook the sky. Chu Li frowned and scoffed. Lu Guangdi. Did he come out of isolated cultivation? Shao Qi frowned. Chu Li scoffed. Looks like he did. Through the omniscient mirror, he saw Lu Guangdi standing in front of the main entrance of the imperial residence. He was dressed in a blue tunic, his eyes sparkled like jewels, and his face was as warm as a piece of white jade. It was obvious that his cultivation level had improved greatly. Shao Qi said, "We have to be careful." When she heard Lu Guangdi's voice, her vigor vibrated. It contained an overbearing inner energy that was far stronger than before. This Lu Guangdi was also amazing. In such a short time, his martial arts had improved greatly. He had improved so much compared to before, it was as if he was a different person. Chapter 1173. Bam Bam! Lu Guangdi suddenly attacked. In a flash, he rushed forward and sent the protectors on both sides of the stone lions flying. Chu Li frowned and his expression darkened. Lu Guangdi was purely venting his anger and slapping King An's imperial residence in the face. It seemed that Lu Guangdi was confident that he could defeat him, which was why he was so fearless. He then frowned and saw Lu Yurong standing not far away. Lu Yurong was dressed in a white tunic with a white veil covering her face. She was calmly watching Lu Guangdi's display of power. She did not comment, as if she was not involved and was purely watching the show. Did Lu Yurong not return to the public house? Why did she return to Fairy's capital? As he thought of this, he calmly said, "Lu Guangdi, come in." His voice traveled far and seemed to ring in Lu Guangdi and Lu Yurong's ears. Lu Guangdi frowned. Hearing Chu Li's voice, Chu Li's inner energy had become richer. It had improved since the last time they met. It seemed like it would not be easy to defeat him. He had to be careful not to fail miserably. As he thought of this, he turned to look at Lu Yurong and smiled. Miss Lu, shall we go in?" Lu Yurong replied, "What do you think?" "I think we won't go in." Lu Guangdi chuckled. "Why should we listen to him? If he comes out, he'll embarrass himself in front of everyone." Lu Yurong smiled but did not deny it. Lu Guangdi raised his voice and shouted, "Chu, come out. Don't be afraid of embarrassing yourself. It's your honor to be defeated by me." Shao Shi scoffed. "Is this guy crazy?" Lu Guangdi was too arrogant. It seemed like no one had ever dared to be this arrogant in front of Chu Li. After all, a person's reputation was like a tree's shadow. Chu Li's status as the youth's #1 had already been established, so anyone who stood in front of him would feel pressured. Lu Guangdi was arrogant the last time, but it was nothing compared to this time. Judging from his tone, he would definitely defeat Chu Li. Chu Li said, "It seems like his martial arts has improved greatly. Let's go and see how powerful he is." Shao Qi whispered, "Can you defeat him?" "We'll know after we fight." Chu Li shook his head and smiled. "He's still quite powerful. Then why take the risk?" Shao Qi asked. Chu Li said, "If I don't beat him into submission, he'll keep pestering me." He still remembered the deal he made with Lu Yurong, which was to chase Lu Guangdi out of Fairy's capital. It seemed like Lu Guangdi's skin was as thick as a wall, so it would not be easy to chase him out of Fairy's capital. It would require a strong provocation. Thinking of this, he slowly walked out of the room. Xiao Shi and Xiao Qi followed suit. Lu Guangdi stood at the bottom of the stairs leading to the main entrance and laughed coldly. "Chu Li, are you afraid now? You're acting like a coward." "Haha, what #1 youth expert? What a joke." Chu Li's voice rang out. "Don't worry, I'll be right there." The door slowly opened as he brought Shao Qi and Shao Shi over the threshold. He glanced at Lu Guangdi and Lu Yurong, who were at the bottom of the stairs, then looked at the two protectors who were lying on the ground. Chu Li walked towards the two protectors and lowered his head to look at them. "Are you all right?" The two of them remained motionless, their eyes filled with resentment. Chu Li gently patted them twice, and the two of them instantly regained their mobility. They bounced up from the ground and glared fiercely at Lu Guangdi. Chu Li said, "You two go back first." Head Chief. The two of them looked ashamed. The two of them had embarrassed King An's imperial residence. They were defeated so easily by this guy, it made it seem like King An's imperial residence was useless. Chu Li waved his hand. "He's not someone you can handle. It's not your fault. Go back and rest." "Yes." The two of them helplessly saluted and glared at Lu Guangdi before entering the imperial residence. Lu Guangdi laughed coldly. "Chu Li, you're quite good at winning people's hearts. However, these are just small tricks. Martial arts is the most important thing." Chu Li said, "You have a bad temper. Tell me, why are you looking for me?" People of high status tend to have short memories. Did you forget what I said last time?" Lu Guangdi cast a sidelong glance at him and laughed coldly. "I just came out of isolated cultivation to teach you a lesson." Chu Li smiled and looked at Lu Yurong. "Miss Lu, are you here to watch the show too?" "Of course, I want to watch the show." Lu Yurong smiled faintly. Chu Li scoffed. "I really don't want to talk to an idiot like him, nor do I want to fight him." Idiot. Lu Guangdi's handsome face instantly darkened as he glared at him. "You're the only smart person in the world. Everyone else is an idiot, but you're the most idiotic one." Chu Li said, "What kind of divine technique did you cultivate in isolated cultivation? Your martial arts has improved by leaps and bounds." Speaking of which, I should thank you." Lu Guangdi cast a sidelong glance at him and laughed coldly. "Thanks to your provocation, I was able to steal my heart and cultivate to the next level. From there, my martial arts has improved by leaps and bounds, allowing me to surpass you." Chu Li said, "It's a blessing that I still have such a contribution. However, if you think you can surpass me with your martial arts, you're dreaming. You should go back and cultivate more so that you don't embarrass yourself." "You're still boasting at this point? How stubborn," Lu Guangdi said disdainfully. "Come, let me have a taste of your martial arts." Chu Li shook his head. "I don't fight people for no reason." "You're scared." Lu Guangdi laughed coldly. Chu Li said, "How about this, let's add some stakes." "What stakes?" Lu Guangdi scoffed. Chu Li said, "Whoever loses will be kicked out of Fairy's capital and will never be able to step into Fairy's capital again." "How cruel!" Lu Guangdi laughed coldly. "You think this little stake is enough to scare me?" Chu Li calmly asked, "Do you agree or not?" "No problem." Lu Guangdi scoffed. "I'd like to see how a head chief like you can't even enter Fairy's capital." Chu Li said, "Then let Miss Lu be the witness." "No problem," Lu Yurong said. Shao Qi and Shao Shi looked at him and shook their heads helplessly. Seeing their reaction, Lu Guangdi became even more pleased as he chuckled non-stop. He could not wait to see Chu Li's painful expression. If he lost, he would not be able to enter Fairy's capital and his position as head chief would be crippled. Chu Li would definitely be in extreme pain. Chu Li stretched out his hand. "Let's do it." Lu Guangdi suddenly struck out with his palm. His movement was gentle, but it sounded like the sound of waves crashing against the shore. The air in front of him distorted as an invisible force pressed against Chu Li. It was everywhere and there was no way to avoid it. TSS. The sword at Chu Li's waist suddenly lit up and pierced through the palm energy. The tip of the sword instantly arrived in front of Lu Guangdi. Lu Guangdi's body swayed as he dodged the attack and struck out with his palm again. The tip of Chu Li's sword suddenly sped up so fast that it became a blur. The next time it appeared, it had already pierced through Lu Guangdi's palm. Chu Li sheathed his sword and glanced at him. "You don't seem to have improved much." "You." Lu Guangdi's palm was pierced through and was bleeding profusely. He stared at Chu Li in disbelief. He was full of confidence. He originally thought that it was a game of cat and mouse. He wanted to torture Chu Li before crippling him. Chapter 1174. After Chu Li sheathed his sword, he calmly said, "Lu Guangdi, is this all you've got?" He was a little disappointed. Lu Guangdi's cultivation level had increased, but he did not expect it to be just a facade. He could not unleash his full potential. His techniques were not more refined, and his speed was not faster. In this way, under Chu Li's powerful sword technique, it was no different from the previous match. He could not even withstand a single blow. He shook his head in disappointment. "You're too impatient. Even if you've improved your skills after isolated cultivation, you should have trained more before coming to me. What a pity!" "Shut up!" Lu Guangdi shouted angrily. He also realized his own recklessness and impetuousness. He clearly had a deep inner energy, but he could not unleash it. He was injured because his techniques were not refined enough, which made him extremely angry. Chu Li then added fuel to the fire, which made him even angrier and redder. He said in a low voice, "Chu Li, you do have some skills." Chu Li smiled. "Thank you for the compliment. But that's not all you've got. Watch my fist." Lu Guangdi gritted his teeth and punched out with his left fist. Roar! It was like a ferocious tiger coming down the mountain. The tiger's roar shook everyone's soul. The surrounding onlookers could not help but cover their ears as their hearts were shaken. Chu Li raised his eyebrows. This fist force was a little strange. An invisible fist force instantly hit the tip of Chu Li's sword. Ding! Like the sound of metal colliding, Chu Li's longsword was swung up, but it was hit by the fist force. This force was as solid as a rock. Chu Li was shocked. What a good fist technique! Lu Guangdi was getting more and more furious as his killing intent surged. Previously, he only wanted to cripple Chu Li, but now he wanted to kill him. Chu Li could feel his killing intent. Lu Yurong frowned. She also felt Lu Guangdi's surging killing intent and secretly shook her head. This Lu Guangdi was too narrow-minded and could easily ruin things. It was better not to keep him around, or else he would only cause trouble for the Crown Prince. She then sighed. The world already belonged to the Crown Prince, so it was not a big deal to stir up some trouble. No one could threaten the Crown Prince's position, not even King Ping. The Crown Prince's ascension to the throne was a clear and unmistakable expression of the Emperor's thoughts. No one would go against the Emperor's decree. All of a sudden, Lu Guangdi's figure grew taller, and his movements became nimble and agile. Then, he threw another punch, followed by a series of consecutive punches. The tip of Chu Li's sword pierced through the fist force one by one, and the blade of the sword emitted a ding-ding sound from time to time. The two of them seemed to have fallen into a stalemate. Lu Guangdi activated his secret skill, causing his dense inner energy to become stronger and stronger. In the end, he still could not suppress Chu Li. Roar! Suddenly, there was a roar that sounded like the cry of a ferocious tiger. The fist force turned into a stream of light and shot towards Chu Li's chest. Chu Li disappeared from where he stood in a flash. The fist force had only hit his shadow, but the people who were 100 feet away could not help but retreat as if they had been hit by someone. Lu Guangdi suddenly swung his arm without making a sound. Ding-ding. Chu Li swung his sword and parried the two needles. Although the needles were so thin that they could not be seen, they contained a powerful force that was astonishing. Lu Guangdi felt a sense of helplessness. The crouching tiger palm from before was shockingly powerful. If Chu Li was caught off guard, he would definitely be injured if he were to take it head-on. The crouching tiger palm relied on its sinister palm energy, but he did not expect Chu Li to dodge it so easily. Those two soul-tracking needles were even more vicious. They were silent and incredibly fast. If one did not know what was going on, it would be difficult to dodge them. Chu Li easily parried them again. It was as if he knew Lu Guangdi's technique and was prepared in advance. These two ultimate skills did not seem to work, and Lu Guangdi had also activated his secret skill. Lu Guangdi was at his wits' end. This Chu Li did not seem to be much stronger than him, but he was unusually tenacious. No matter how hard Lu Guangdi tried, Chu Li easily nullified his attacks. It was truly hopeless. Xiao Shi said to Shao Qi, "He's only SOSO. And here I thought he had some skills. He scared Chu Li." Shao Qi said, "His martial arts are not bad." From her perspective, Lu Guangdi's inner energy was deep, but he was lacking in his technique. He had a body full of inner energy, but he could not unleash its full power. Xiao Shi pouted and shook her head. Lu Guangdi clearly heard the two women's conversation. He turned around and suddenly shot a soul-tracking needle at the two women. The soul-tracking needle was silent. Shao Qi sensed danger and quickly swung her sword. Ding ding. Two crisp sounds were heard. The soul-tracking needle was parried. If it was not for Shao Qi's deep cultivation and sharp senses, she might not have been able to block these two needles. Ah! Lu Guangdi roared in anger. It was fine if Chu Li could dodge the soul-tracking needle. After all, the two of them were fighting and were on high alert. However, this Shao Qi could also dodge it. This was ridiculous. Lu Guangdi's anger made him lose his mind. He vented all his anger and despair on Xiao Shi. He suddenly rushed toward Xiao Shi and pushed out both of his palms. It was like a raging wave that instantly surged toward Xiao Shi. Chu Li appeared in front of Xiao Shi in a flash, and pulled her out of the range of his palm energy. Then, he disappeared again and reappeared behind Lu Guangdi. His sword pierced through Lu Guangdi's dantian. Chu Li's current movement was fused with the body technique he saw from Sun Yuqing. It was even more unpredictable and fast. It was impossible to defend against. Ugh! Lu Guangdi turned his head and stared at him in disbelief. Chu Li coldly said, "Don't forget the bet. Get out of Fairy's capital tomorrow." He turned to look at Lu Yurong. "Miss Lu, what's the use of this guy's martial arts? His Highness the Crown Prince should keep his eyes open. Don't recruit just anyone and ruin his reputation." As soon as he said that, he turned and left. Shao Qi and Xiao Shi followed him in. The gates of the imperial residence were closed. Everyone looked at Lu Guangdi, who was lying on the ground, and shook their heads. Another guy who was blinded by fame. He wanted to make a name for himself with one battle and treated head chief Chu Li as a stepping stone. Unfortunately, Chu Li was not a stepping stone. Not just anyone could step on him. This guy was making an example out of Lu Guangdi. Lu Yurong walked in front of Lu Guangdi and sighed. "Let's go back." Lu Guangdi gritted his teeth and stared at her coldly. Lu Yurong frowned. "You don't want to go back? Just leave Fairy's capital?" "Humph." Lu Guangdi gritted his teeth. "Back to the Crown Prince's residence." "That's it," Lu Yurong calmly said. She waved her hand and two protectors from the Crown Prince's residence came over to help Lu Guangdi up. Everyone returned to the Crown Prince's residence. After dinner, a servant girl came to Lu Yurong's courtyard. She left the courtyard and went to the backyard. She saw the original King Jing, who was now the Crown Prince, Leng Jinghua. "Uncle-in-law." Lu Yurong fist saluted and entered the pagoda to sit at the stone table. Leng Jinghua frowned and sighed. "You followed him?" Lu Yurong knew what he was asking about. She nodded. "Yes, young Master Lu insisted that I go as a witness. I didn't expect him to be no match for Chu Li even after his cultivation increased." "You didn't expect that?" Leng Jinghua scoffed. He was dressed in a bright yellow robe and looked extremely noble. Lu Yurong embarrassedly said, "I didn't think much of him, but I couldn't stop him from being so confident. Also, uncle-in-law, you gave him a lot of power, so I couldn't stop him. I could only follow and watch. Don't let Chu Li kill him." "It's no different from killing him," Leng Jinghua coldly said. Lu Yurong said, "Green Deer Cliff has primary heaven pills. It's easy to recover one's martial art. If primary heaven pills were that easy to obtain, I wouldn't be running out of primary heaven pills, Lung Jinghua said. I heard that the spirit medicine used to make primary heaven pills is almost extinct. Every time you use one, you'll have one less. What do you mean, uncle-in-law? Lu Yurong asked. Chapter 1175. Lu Yurong was startled, then smiled. Uncle-in-law, are you trying to teach him a lesson? What do you think? Lung Jinghua asked. Lu Yurong quickly nodded and said, That's great. However, he is the head chief of King An's imperial residence. If we were to deal with him, it would be hard to avoid implicating King An. It would make people think that we are bullying an orphan and a widow, which would tarnish our reputation. She had long wanted to take Chu Li down a notch. She had never been able to gain any advantage from him, and this feeling was very annoying. Now that there was a chance, she would cause him some trouble. Her heart was filled with joy, and she was eager to try. Yes. Lung Jinghua pondered and nodded. Let's not talk about him for now. What about Lu Guangdi? What do you mean, uncle-in-law? Lu Yurong asked. You want him to stay? Lung Jinghua muttered. His father is an important figure. Which elder is it? Lu Yurong said. To be so highly regarded by uncle-in-law, it must not be an ordinary elder, right? Green Deer Cliff had a disciple who left the mountain more than 100 years ago, Lung Jinghua said. You might not have heard of him. Uncle-in-law, are you talking about Lu Jingjun? Lung Jinghua chuckled. Do you really know? I've heard of Lu Jingjun. Lu Yurong shook her head and said, I just didn't expect Lu Guangdi's father to be him. No wonder he's such a talented genius. It's a pity that he doesn't have the temperament to achieve anything great. Lung Jinghua nodded. It's rare for him to be able to cultivate to such a level in the Tide Listening Pavilion, but he lacks experience. Moreover, he's the only one in the Tide Listening Pavilion, so it's inevitable that he's arrogant. Uncle-in-law, it'll be difficult for you to rope in Lu Jingjun. Lu Yurong frowned and said, He is extremely arrogant and will never rely on the court. Moreover, he is eccentric and unpredictable. It will be troublesome to rope him in. Lung Jinghua said, Green Deer Cliff has a rich heritage. If we can rope them in, we can suppress the Tempest Temple. The Tempest Temple was the knot and sore point of every emperor. They had always tried their best to attack the Tempest Temple and weaken it. I'm just afraid that Green Deer Cliff might not dare to go against the Tempest Temple. Lu Yurong shook her head. I'm afraid uncle-in-law's plan won't work. Right now, Lu Guangdi has made a bet with Chu Li in front of so many people. The loser will have to leave Fairy's capital forever. I forcefully ordered Lu Guangdi to stay. As a protector of the public house, he can't possibly refuse, right? Lung Jinghua scoffed. Chu Li has nothing to say. I'm just afraid that other people will talk about it. Lu Yurong sighed. Of course, she could not wait for Lu Guangdi to leave so that he would not be an eyesore in front of her. However, when she heard that Lu Guangdi's father was Lu Jingjun, she knew that it would be difficult for her to get what she wanted. Lu Jingjun's status was too important. 100 years ago, Lu Jingjun was just like Chu Li now. He was in the limelight for a while, and he was faintly regarded as the youth champion. Unfortunately, at the last moment, he was defeated by a young disciple of the Great Lane Temple and lost the chance to become a heavenly god. Thus, he retreated into the forest. She did not expect Lu Jingjun to have an illegitimate son despite looking like he had retired to the mountains and was disheartened. Lung Jinghua said, We can't care about what other people say now. As long as we rope in Lu Jingjun, we won't have to worry about him not attacking the Tempest Temple. Lu Yurong nodded lightly. Lu Jingjun and the Tempest Temple were like fire and water. He must hate the Tempest Temple to the core. After all, they took away his chance to become an enlightened master. His hatred for them was deeper than killing his father. If there was a chance to cause trouble for the Tempest Temple, Lu Jingjun would not let it go. Lung Jinghua said, "As for Chu Li, go talk to him. Tell him to stop being so stubborn." "Uncle-in-law," Lu Yurong said, "there's no need to ask for trouble. It's useless even if you talk to him. He'll definitely not agree." "He won't give me any face?" Lung Jinghua frowned. Lu Yurong said, "Uncle-in-law, don't forget how he was sent to the imperial mausoleum. If he dared to disobey the emperor's order, what more the crown prince?" "Hee hee." Lung Jinghua laughed and shook his head. "He's not afraid of power. It's rare to see someone who dares to do something like that." Lu Yurong asked, "Uncle-in-law, how are you going to deal with him?" "I don't have to do anything," Lung Jinghua said. "Someone else will teach him a lesson." "Lu Jingjun?" Lung Jinghua slowly said, "Lu Jingjun is proud and arrogant. No matter how useless his son is, he won't let anyone teach him a lesson. He'll definitely teach Chu Li a lesson." Lu Yurong hesitated. "I'm just afraid that Lu Jingjun won't get what he wants." Lung Jinghua looked at her. Lu Yurong said, "Chu Li's current cultivation level is unfathomable. Lu Guangdi's cultivation level has become extremely powerful after he came out of isolated cultivation. He's even more powerful than me. However, he can't even withstand a single blow from Chu Li." Lung Jinghua said in a low voice, "Chu Li is powerful. After all, he's only been cultivating for a short period of time. Lu Jingjun was already a top-notch master 100 years ago." Lu Yurong did not refute him. She realized that her uncle-in-law's temperament had changed ever since he inherited the crown prince's position. He no longer listened to unpleasant words. Lu Yurong used to insist on her own opinion, but not anymore. Lung Jinghua said, "The one who's going to deal with Chu Li isn't Lu Jingjun. He's too far away to quench his thirst. It'll be best if he can force Chu Li to leave Fairy's capital." "Uncle-in-law, are you worried about King Ping?" "How can I be worried? I think King Ping only wants revenge. He doesn't want anything else." "People change," Yi Zichen said. "Yes." Lu Yurong nodded. "Then we'll force Chu Li to leave Fairy's capital. If the Secret Guardians Hall doesn't succeed and Lu Jingjun comes, you'll be the one to give him a taste of his own medicine." "Yes." Lu Yurong smiled. She understood the Crown Prince's plan. He wanted to use the Secret Guardians Hall to deal with Chu Li. As the two were talking, Lu Guangdi slowly walked over. He gave a fist salute dejectedly. "Your Highness, Miss Lu." Lung Jinghua sized him up and shook his head. "You're a man. Don't be a coward. You've only lost once. Just defeat him next time." "Your Highness, I don't want to leave Fairy's capital." Lu Guangdi glanced at Lu Yurong and said helplessly, "But I've already given my word. If I don't leave, I'll be breaking my promise." Lu Yurong despised him in her heart, but her expression remained calm. "I'll pass down an order tomorrow. You're not allowed to leave Fairy's capital on your own." Lung Jinghua said gently, "This way you won't be breaking your promise. You'll be forced to do so. No one else can say anything." "Thank you, Your Highness." Lu Guangdi smiled. "If you were to fight again, would you be able to defeat Chu Li?" Lung Jinghua asked. Lu Guangdi hesitated for a moment before shaking his head. Lung Jinghua said, "Your cultivation level is higher than Chu Li's now. How can you not defeat him?" "My inner energy is profound, but I might not be able to defeat him. He's hiding his true strength. Plus, his sword technique is marvelous. I'm far inferior to him." Lu Guangdi sighed. Tide Listening Pavilion's martial arts aren't top-notch martial arts after all. Lu Yurong calmly said, "Chu Li isn't from a famous sect either. Maybe he had a fortuitous encounter." Lu Guangdi said, "Either way, his sword technique is extraordinary." "That's true." Lu Yurong said, "I heard that he combined various sword techniques and created it himself." Heh. Lu Guangdi curled his lips and said in disdain, "He dares to brag about creating his own sword technique. It was not that he had never tried it before. He knew how difficult it was to create one's own martial art. He did not believe that Chu Li, who had only practiced martial arts for 2 years, could create his own sword technique. Lu Yurong was too lazy to argue with him. Leng Jinghua said, "It's a pity that my technique is ordinary. I can't find a mystical technique for you." Lu Yurong calmly said, "Green Deer Cliff has a vast collection of martial arts. They have many mystical techniques in their collection. Any one of them would be enough." Lu Guangdi's expression instantly changed. Chapter 1176. Lu Yurong calmly looked at him. Leng Jinghua also looked at him and noticed that his expression was strange. He smiled and asked gently, "What's wrong, young Lu?" Lu Guangdi's expression was uncertain. After a while, he forced a smile. "Nothing, Your Highness. Do you know Lu Jingjun?" "Yes, I've heard of him," Leng Jinghua praised. "He's truly a legend. Although he's retired, he's still so charming that I can't wait to meet him. Unfortunately, I never had the opportunity." Lu Guangdi said, "Your Highness, I'm actually not related to him. I won't recognize him as my father, and he won't recognize me as his son." Leng Jinghua frowned. "Blood is thicker than water. After all, we share the same bloodline." Lu Guangdi said hatefully, "He doesn't deserve to be my father." "You must have suffered a lot over the years, right?" Leng Jinghua asked. Lu Guangdi scoffed, "If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have become a fatherless child, and my mother wouldn't have died so early. In any case, I will never recognize him." Leng Jinghua nodded. "Maybe he doesn't even know of your existence. When my mother passed away, he came." Lu Guangdi clenched his teeth and laughed coldly, "But he left me at Tide Listening Pavilion and didn't bring me back. He only glanced at me as if he didn't know me at all. Fine, if he doesn't recognize me, I won't recognize him either." His face was flushed red with excitement. Leng Jinghua said, "It seems like there's a deep misunderstanding between you and your father." "There's no misunderstanding. He just cherishes his reputation and thinks that I shouldn't have been born." Lu Guangdi clenched his teeth. "Fine, then I'll cultivate as hard as I can. I'll definitely surpass him." Leng Jinghua said, "Your cultivation level is so high now, it's probably higher than when he was young." Lu Guangdi smiled. Then, his smile slowly disappeared. He thought about how he was defeated by Chu Li again and how he made a bet to leave Fairy's capital. He was so ashamed. Back then, he stepped into Fairy's capital to make a name for himself. He wanted to show that guy that he was stronger than him and make him regret it. Then, he would defeat him in front of him and humiliate him. Chu Li was the best stepping stone. As long as they could cripple Chu Li or even kill him, they would instantly become famous in the world. They would be in the limelight for a while, and would not lose to Lu Jingjun in the past. Unfortunately, man proposes, God disposes. He did not expect Chu Li to be so difficult to deal with. Not only did he fail to defeat him, he even embarrassed himself. Leng Jinghua shook his head helplessly. Lu Guangdi was born at the wrong time to meet Chu Li. If it were not for Chu Li, Lu Guangdi's cultivation level would have been extremely rare in the world. He would have been able to dominate the younger generation, and both father and son would have been able to dominate the world. It would have been a wonderful story. Lu Guangdi would have been able to hold his head high, and Lu Jingjun would have been able to acknowledge him. Your martial arts are now crippled. Without the primary heaven pill, it won't be easy for you to recover. Lu Guangdi furrowed his brows and remained silent. Now that his martial arts were crippled, his spine was broken as well. He had lost all confidence. Lu Yurong calmly said, Green Deer Cliff has the primary heaven pill that can help you recover your martial arts. Back then, King An managed to recover his martial arts after obtaining a primary heaven pill. As for you, now is not the time to be angry. Ask Senior Lu for a primary heaven pill, then obtain a mystical technique. After that, you can seek revenge on Chu Li. Otherwise, you'll never be able to catch up to Chu Li in this lifetime. You'll just have to watch him walk with his head held high. Lu Guangdi had a conflicted expression on his face. Lu Yurong scoffed. At a time like this, you're still thinking about your pitiful pride? You and Senior Lu are father and son. No matter what, you can't change that. Both of you have the same blood flowing in your veins. Why are you still talking about pride and face with him? Lu Guangdi shook his head. I don't want to have anything to do with him. Lu Yurong calmly said. All right, then you should return to Tide Listening Pavilion and recover your martial arts. It'll take at least 2 years for your martial arts to recover, right? You should know that Chu Li has only been cultivating for 2 years. In 2 years, he went from a normal person who didn't know any martial arts to what he is now. What will he become in another 2 years? Lu Guangdi frowned and remained silent. Leng Jinghua sighed and gently said, Forget it, Yurong, don't force young Lu. If he doesn't want to find Senior Lu, then forget it. Lu Yurong said, All right, since he wants to recover his martial arts, there's no difference between staying in Fairy's capital and Tide Listening Pavilion. Tide Listening Pavilion is quieter. It'll be better for him to focus on his cultivation. Lu Guangdi frowned. Miss Lu, are you chasing me away? Do you have the cheek to stay? Lu Yurong scoffed. The Crown Prince's residence doesn't support idlers. Yurong. Leng Jinghua hurriedly said, Don't be so harsh. Young Lu, just focus on recuperating and recovering your martial arts. You don't have to worry about anything else. Your Highness. Lu Guangdi cupped his fists in gratitude. The harsher Lu Yurong was, the more magnanimous Leng Jinghua seemed. This moved Lu Guangdi even more. He had an extreme personality, but he was still spoiled in Tide Listening Pavilion. His thoughts were not complicated enough, and he was easily deceived. Young Lu, I'll help you find some spirit pills. Even if I can't find something like the primary heaven pill, it'll still be beneficial. Leng Jinghua gently said, Even if I can't find it, I'll try to shorten the time it takes for you to recover your martial arts. Thank you, Your Highness. Lu Guangdi cupped his fists in gratitude. He wanted to go through a mountain of blades and a sea of fire to repay Leng Jinghua's kindness. Leng Jinghua waved his hand and smiled. You're a high official that I invited, it's only natural. Go back and rest. Yes, Lu Guangdi replied. As she watched him leave the backyard, Lu Yurong smiled. This time, he'll probably look for Lu Jingjun. Leng Jinghua slowly nodded. He glanced at Lu Yurong. The two of them had great teamwork. By using both the carrot and the stick, he would not have to worry about not being able to break the knot in Lu Guangdi's heart and lure Lu Jingjun over. Once Lu Jingjun arrived, his plan would truly begin. A bright moon hung in the sky. Chu Li sat by the stone table in the courtyard, lazily studying the heavenly king palm. It was brightly lit, and the courtyard was as bright as day. The heavenly king palm was full of mysteries. He wanted to understand its mysteries and use it accordingly. Unfortunately, the omniscient mirror was not omnipotent, and it could not completely understand the mysteries of the heavenly king palm. He suddenly looked up and saw Lu Yurong standing in front of him. She had arrived without a sound, and it was obvious that her cultivation level had increased by quite a bit. Chu Li smiled. You don't come to me for no reason. Is it because Lu Guangdi hasn't left yet? Yes. Lu Yurong nodded. You've completely offended my uncle-in-law, and he wants to use the secret guardian's hall to deal with you. Chu Li frowned at her. Lu Yurong said, This is a good opportunity to chase Guyu away. Why are you being so kind? Chu Li scoffed. Lu Yurong rolled her eyes at him. I want to watch your show, but I remember my promise. You, on the other hand, she shook her head as she spoke. Chu Li scoffed. Don't worry, Lu Guangdi will leave. That's good. Lu Yurong smiled. Let me be clear with you, Lu Guangdi is the illegitimate son of Green Deer Cliff's Lu Jingjun. I'm leaving. She fluttered away after she finished speaking. Chu Li fell into deep thought. Chapter 1177. Chu Li smiled at her with a guilty conscience. Although he did not have a romantic relationship with Lu Yurong, he still felt uneasy and guilty when he came to see Shao Qi in the middle of the night. Shao Qi rolled her eyes at him. She's definitely up to no good. Chu Li smiled. His Highness the Crown Prince wants to show me what he's made of. Is it because of King Ping? Shao Qi was dressed in a white robe. Her hair draped over her shoulders like black satin. Her face was crystal clear and glowing. Chu Li nodded. Shao Qi asked, "How are you going to deal with it?" Chu Li scoffed. "I might have to return to the public house for a while." Shao Qi frowned and muttered, "Why don't you take the initiative to go back and avoid him?" Chu Li replied, "Retreating before the battle is too weak. There's no benefit in competing with the Crown Prince." Shao Qi shook her head. "There's no need to fight him head-on. We need to strike from the shadows. Let's wait and see." Chu Li said, "We can't leave yet." Shao Qi nodded. She was not too worried. Firstly, she had confidence in Chu Li. Secondly, the public house was their escape route. No matter what, they could always return to the public house. No one could mess with them. No matter what, as long as the Great Ji dynasty existed, the public house was as stable as a rock. Early in the morning, Lu Guangdi was slowly practicing his fist technique in his courtyard to nourish his body. After his inner energy was crippled, his body would deteriorate quickly without the nourishment of inner energy. He needed to use external techniques to nourish his body so that it would not deteriorate too much. It would be more strenuous to cultivate in the future. Footsteps could be heard. Zhuo Feiyang pushed open the door and entered the courtyard. He saw Lu Guangdi in a green robe with white steam coming out of his forehead. He laughed. "Yo, brother Lu is so diligent. I thought you were sleeping in." "Zhuo, what are you doing here?" Lu Guangdi frowned. He suspected that Zhuo Feiyang was still a member of the public house. He was Chu Li's subordinate or a spy who was hiding in the Crown Prince's residence. Because of Chu Li, he could not stand Zhuo Feiyang. He hated him so much that he wanted to kill Zhuo Feiyang. Zhuo Feiyang chuckled as he walked to the stone table and sat down. "That's not how you treat a guest. If you have something to say, then hurry up and say it," Lu Guangdi said coldly as he looked down at him from above. Zhuo Feiyang said, All right, I'll just say a few words." "Release," Lu Guangdi said coldly. Zhuo Feiyang shook his head and smiled. "Brother Lu, the rumors outside are spreading like wildfire. Don't you know?" "Know what?" Lu Guangdi frowned. "Hurry up, don't leave me hanging." Zhuo Feiyang smiled and shook his head. "Brother Lu, I'm sure you don't know about it. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to sit still. What the hell is going on?" Lu Guangdi growled impatiently. He sat across from him and glared at him coldly. Zhuo Feiyang's smile did not diminish. Instead, his gaze became even brighter. Both of them stared at each other in the air. Both of them were unwilling to admit defeat and wanted to see who was stronger. In front of Chu Li, Lu Guangdi had completely lost his confidence. He had suffered a terrible blow, but the arrogance in his heart had not dissipated. He still had a condescending attitude towards the people around him, thinking that they were all weaklings that he could defeat with a single move. Zhuo Feiyang was also an arrogant person. Even without the relationship between Chu Li and the public house, both of them hated each other. "All right, I'll tell you." Zhuo Feiyang grinned. "The rumors outside are saying that you made a bet with Chu Li that whoever lost would be kicked out of Fairy's capital and never set foot in Fairy's capital again. In the end, you lost." "Humph." Lu Guangdi did not deny it. Zhuo Feiyang shook his head and sighed. "They're saying that disciples from Tide Listening Pavilion don't keep their promises." "How shameless! What does this have to do with Tide Listening Pavilion?" Lu Guangdi's expression changed drastically. His feelings towards Tide Listening Pavilion were complicated. There was hatred, gratitude, and admiration. If not for Tide Listening Pavilion, he and his mother would have been killed a long time ago. After all, he had grown up in Tide Listening Pavilion. Without Tide Listening Pavilion, he would not exist. Hearing others criticize Tide Listening Pavilion made him feel worse than hearing others criticize him. Zhuo Feiyang said, "As the saying goes, it's the father's fault for not teaching his son well. As a disciple of Tide Listening Pavilion, you actually went against your word. Naturally, everyone doesn't have a good impression of Tide Listening Pavilion. It's their fault for not teaching you well." Lu Guangdi's expression darkened. "Zhuo Feiyang, this isn't a rumor. You made it up yourself, right?" "Me?" Zhuo Feiyang pointed at himself and laughed. "I can't be bothered with this kind of nonsense. I just thought it was interesting. Do you really want to shamelessly stay in Fairy's capital?" "His Highness ordered me to stay," Lu Guangdi said coldly. Zhuo Feiyang chuckled and shook his head. "What are you laughing at?" Lu Guangdi scolded. Zhuo Feiyang sighed. "Even a 3-year-old can tell that you're using this as an excuse. What order from His Highness? If you really wanted to keep your word, no matter how strict His Highness the Crown Prince ordered you, you wouldn't have stayed. Zhuo, you can't wait for me to leave, can you?" Lu Guangdi laughed coldly. "No one has seen through your true colors. If I leave, no one will keep an eye on you." Zhuo Feiyang sighed. "You really think you're smart? Are you even more powerful than Miss Lu? Why didn't Miss Lu chase me away?" "It's all because of Chu Li." Lu Guangdi gritted his teeth and said angrily, "If I leave, that Chu Li won't have it easy either. I'll personally report your identity to His Highness." "Let's see what His Highness has to say about that," Zhuo Feiyang said disdainfully. "I'm loyal to His Highness unlike you. Ever since you entered the Crown Prince's residence, you've contributed nothing at all. Instead, all you do is ask for more. Do you really think that His Highness values you?" "What do you mean? Who doesn't know that His Highness is doing this for your father's sake?" "Shut up. Hee, if it weren't for the elders of Green Deer Cliff, do you really think that His Highness values you so much?" "Zhuo, shut up." Lu Guangdi slammed the stone table. He clenched his fists so hard that his veins popped. He wanted nothing more than to kill Zhuo Feiyang. "If I were you, I wouldn't have the face to stay here. I would have left a long time ago." Zhuo Feiyang shook his head and stood up to leave. After he left the courtyard, he turned around and looked back. He had finally completed Chu Li's instructions. He had thoroughly provoked this thick-skinned guy. If he did not leave today, he would come again tomorrow. He wanted to see how long he could last. Just as he turned around and was about to leave, he saw Lu Yurong. He instantly smiled and gave her a fist salute. Lu Yurong scoffed and waved her hand. Her face was covered by a white veil, so her expression could not be seen. However, her bright eyes were as cold as a cold spring. Zhuo Feiyang left in a hurry. Every time he saw Lu Yurong, her bright eyes seemed to be able to see through him. It was similar to facing Chu Li. He felt extremely uncomfortable and wanted nothing more than to get out of her sight. Lu Yurong stood in front of Lu Guangdi's courtyard. She shook her head and did not enter. She scoffed to herself. Chu Li was indeed ruthless and accurate. He directly hit Lu Guangdi's weak spot and forced him to leave Fairy's capital. Chapter 1178. P.S. The 40th Alliance leader has been born, Moon Palace Leader A. 2 days later, at night, the Crown Prince's residence's backyard was brightly lit. Inside a gazebo on the lake, Lu Guangdi stood at the side with a determined expression, pursing his lips without saying a word. Crown Prince Ling Jinghua shook his head helplessly and looked at Lu Yurong. "Yurong, there's definitely someone behind all this, is it Chu Li?" Lu Yurong muttered, "Logically speaking, it shouldn't be Chu Li." Her eyes flickered, since he defeated young Master Lu, there's no need for Chu Li to be so overbearing. Young Master Lu's martial arts is now crippled. He can't be a threat anymore. With his personality, he won't bother to deal with young Master Lu, so I think it might be the Tempest Temple. The Tempest Temple. Leng Jinghua frowned, his expression darkening. Lu Yurong knew that the Tempest Temple was Leng Jinghua's sore spot. Using the Tempest Temple was the easiest way to fool him. No matter how she looked at it, it was not Chu Li's doing. Chu Li did not benefit from it at all. No one knew about the deal between them. If he did not mention it, no one would ever guess it. This was the beauty of smart people cooperating with smart people. They could fool everyone in the world. At this moment, she felt a particularly wonderful feeling, which made her extremely intoxicated. Lu Guangdi said, "Your Highness, no matter who it is, I can't stay in Fairy's capital anymore. I'll leave tomorrow, let everyone see." "It's just gossip, don't pay attention to it," Leng Jinghua said. He was not satisfied. Letting Lu Guangdi go meant cutting off all ties with Lu Jingjun. It would be extremely difficult to reconnect. Lu Jingjun was so powerful, how could he not see through Leng Jinghua's intentions? All these years, Lu Jingjun had never done anything to the Tempest Temple. Without Lu Guangdi, it was almost impossible for Lu Jingjun to make a move. As the crown prince, he had prestige in the imperial court, but to the four major sects, his influence was negligible. Lu Guangdi said, "Your Highness, I can ignore my own reputation, but I can't ignore the Tide Listening Pavilion's reputation. Tide Listening Pavilion's noble reputation cannot be ruined because of me. I would be too ashamed to return." "Have you made up your mind?" Leng Jinghua asked. "Yes." Lu Guangdi gave a fist salute and said, "Your Highness, I can only repay you in the future. This time, no matter what, I must return." "If that's the case, I'll do as you say." Leng Jinghua could tell that he had made up his mind, so he knew it was useless to force him. Lu Yurong said, "Young Master Lu, it's useless even if you leave now. People will always find an excuse to slander Tide Listening Pavilion. I'm not here. Even if they have other excuses, it has nothing to do with me. I have a clear conscience." Lu Guang said. "What a good have a clear conscience." Leng Jinghua said in a low voice, "All right, Lil Lu, when you return to Tide Listening Pavilion, cultivate well and try to recover as soon as possible. I'll gather some spirit pills and send them over." "Your Highness, you flatter me," Lu Guang said. Leng Jinghua shook his head. "I'm not the kind of person who would burn the bridge after crossing it. Once you've recovered your martial arts, lend me a hand." "Your Highness, I've already sworn to never set foot in Fairy's capital again." Lu Guangdi shook his head. Leng Jinghua chuckled. "You can challenge Chu Li again and win back your bet." "Yes." Lu Guangdi smiled. Lu Yurong secretly despised him but did not say a word. Lu Guangdi gave her a fist salute. "Miss Lu, I've troubled you for the past few days." Lu Yurong calmly said, "You're welcome." Lu Guangdi sighed. "I'm not good enough for Miss Lu." Lu Yurong smiled faintly. "Young Master Lu, have a safe journey." She turned to Leng Jinghua and said, "Uncle-in-law, I'm afraid young Master Lu's return journey will be dangerous. We need to send a top-notch martial arts master to escort him." Leng Jinghua was stunned. He thought about it and slowly nodded. "All right." He was actually disappointed in Lu Guangdi. He knew that it would be difficult to rely on Lu Guangdi to get Lu Jingjuan's help. Even if Lu Guangdi recovered his martial arts, Lu Jingjun would never let him come to the Crown Prince's residence again. His previous words were just to calm Lu Guangdi down and subconsciously by his heart. In reality, he had already decided to abandon Lu Guangdi. Lu Yurong looked at him deeply. Even if Leng Jinghua did not understand, he did not disobey Lu Yurong. He nodded. "Yurong, pick a few martial arts masters." "Yes." Lu Yurong nodded. "Let Elder Su and Elder Hu protect him." That won't do. Lu Guangdi quickly shook his head. He knew that Elder Su and Elder Hu were Ling Jinghua's secret guards. They were usually hidden in the dark. Almost no one outside of the residence knew of their existence. However, everyone inside the residence knew how powerful they were. They were the top-notch martial arts masters in the Crown Prince's residence. Ling Jinghua looked at Lu Yurong and nodded without hesitation. All right, let's pick them. Your Highness. Lu Guangdi quickly waved his hand. I don't deserve that. I'm just a cripple now. I only had a grudge with Chu Li, and he took care of me. Other than that, I have no grudges with anyone else, so no one will harm me. Lu Yurong scoffed. Naive. Lu Guangdi looked at her unhappily. Lu Yurong said, Their target isn't you, it's uncle-in-law. Lu Guangdi furrowed his brows and thought about it. He was confused and had no idea what to do. Ling Jinghua nodded thoughtfully. Yes, Yurong is right. Don't drag you down because of me. It's decided then. I still have to attend court tomorrow, so I won't be able to send you off. Let Yurong send you off on my behalf. Lu Yurong said, Don't worry, uncle-in-law. At dawn the next day, Lu Guangdi slowly walked out of the Crown Prince's residence. Beside him were two elders who were holding on to 3 horses. The 2 elders looked ordinary and had a mediocre temperament. They did not look like masters at all. They looked like ordinary servants. Lu Yurong gave him a fist salute at the entrance of the Crown Prince's residence. Lu Guangdi looked at Lu Yurong, who was dressed in white and had a white veil over her face. He felt melancholy and reluctant to part with her, but he could only say goodbye reluctantly. He did not know when he would see Lu Yurong again. A gust of wind blew, and Lu Yurong's white robe fluttered in the wind. She looked like an otherworldly fairy. Lu Yurong's eyes were clear as she calmly looked at him. She gave him a fist salute and said, Young Master Lu, take care. When you return to Tide Listening Pavilion, write a letter to His Highness. His Highness values you the most. All right. Lu Guangdi nodded and gave her another fist salute. He held back his reluctance and used all of his willpower to slowly turn around and walk out. The streets were bustling as usual. Looking at this bustling scene, he felt like he was sitting in a prisoner's carriage. His heart was dead. He walked all the way to Fairy's capital's south gate. When he walked out of the south gate, he turned around and looked back. The majestic Fairy's capital did not move at all. It was as if it had existed for tens of thousands of years. The only thing that could be seen was the people going in and out. He sighed. The 2 elders led the horses over. Young Master Lu, let's go. Lu Guangdi nodded solemnly. He turned around and got on the horse. Suddenly, he stopped and frowned as he looked at the side of the road. His eyesight was better than most people's. He saw Chu Li standing in the farewell pavilion. Chu Li's white robe fluttered in the wind. Behind him was a beautiful woman who looked like ice and snow. She stood beside him and looked in his direction. Chapter 1179. His expression darkened. Chu Li, even at this point, he still wants to laugh at me. How hateful! As he thought of this, he was filled with murderous intent. Once again, he had the urge to kill Chu Li. Unfortunately, he could not do it even when he was at his peak, let alone now. He could only sulk. Young Master Lu? The 2 elders followed his gaze and saw Chu Li. They recognized Chu Li and frowned. They felt that Chu Li was too much. Should we avoid him? One of the elders asked. Lu Guangdi clenched his teeth and shook his head. No need. Even if he comes, we need to listen to what he has to say. Why bother? The other elder said, If he's just adding salt to the wound, it's better to avoid him. Wouldn't it seem like I'm afraid of him if I avoid him? Lu Guangdi shook his head. I want to listen to his taunts. That way, I'll be motivated to cultivate. He knew that when he was in the midst of hatred, his cultivation would be much faster. The reason he was able to have a cultivation that far surpassed his peers was because of his outstanding talent, but more importantly, he cultivated like crazy. Day and night, he wanted to surpass that damned father of his and make him regret and vexed, so he cultivated with all his might. Nevertheless, ever since he entered Fairy's capital, Yangming seemed to have lost his drive to cultivate crazily, and he could no longer muster up his hatred. Perhaps as Yangming's vision widened, he slowly understood Lu Jingjuan's difficulties, hence he was more lenient and less angry. If he wanted to recover his martial arts as soon as possible, he needed to bring out that crazy drive. However, it was hard to do so now. Chu Li came at the right time. If he ridiculed and mocked him, Lu Guangdi would want to eat him raw. It would greatly benefit his recovery. If that's the case. The two elders looked at each other and felt that they had to look at him in a different light. This Lu Guangdi was not completely useless. At the very least, he had a strong heart. The three of them urged their horses and slowly arrived outside the farewell pavilion. Chu Li stood in the pavilion. Beside him was a woman with snow-white skin and a cold expression. It was Xueling. When Xueling saw Lu Guangdi, she immediately picked up the green jade pot and poured 2 cups of wine. Lu Guangdi slowly walked into the pavilion and stood in front of Chu Li. He stared at Chu Li coldly. Chu Li smiled as he picked up a white jade cup and handed it to Lu Guangdi. "Brother Lu, I'm here to give you a farewell dinner." Lu Guangdi ignored Chu Li's glass and coldly glared at him. "Chu Li, don't you think you're being too hypocritical?" "Hypocritical?" Chu Li laughed. "I'm just a hero who cherishes another hero." "Humph." Lu Guangdi's expression softened. Chu Li finished the white jade cup in one gulp. Xueling held the green jade pot and filled the white jade cup. Chu Li said, "Since Brother Lu doesn't want to drink, I'll drink it myself." Lu Guangdi scoffed as he snatched the white jade cup from him and downed it in one gulp. He then flipped the bottom of the cup. "All right, if you have anything else to say, hurry up and say it." "I'm in a hurry." Xue stepped forward and filled the glass. Chu Li smiled and said, "I've always admired Brother Lu's profound cultivation level. I'm sure you'll recover your martial arts very soon, especially since you have a good father. Once you obtain the primary heaven pill, you'll be able to recover your cultivation level overnight." Are you afraid?" Lu Guangdi sneered. Chu Li shook his head. "I'm not afraid, I'm just excited to see my prey. It's a shame that Brother Lu can't return to Fairy's capital. We can't fight again, it's a shame. I'll challenge you again." Lu Guangdi scoffed. Chu Li nodded. "That's good, I have the same intention. This is my keepsake. As long as you crush this pendant, I'll immediately appear." He took out a white jade pendant from his inner pocket and handed it to Lu Guangdi. Lu Guangdi was stunned as he looked at Chu Li mockingly. Chu Li smiled. "I know Brother Lu doesn't believe me, but there's no harm in taking it. It's just a jade pendant. Are you afraid that I'll harm you?" "Humph, I bet you wouldn't dare." Lu Guangdi scoffed as he took it and stuffed it into his inner pocket. Chu Li said, "If Brother Lu wants to fight me again, you can crush this pendant too. I'll immediately appear." "All right." Lu Guangdi nodded. Chu Li said, "Or if Brother Lu is in danger and is on the brink of death, you can crush this pendant too. I'll come and lend you a hand." "Hell, lend me a hand." Lu Guangdi laughed coldly. "You want me dead, don't you?" He laughed coldly as he felt that Chu Li was a hypocrite. He obviously wanted to kill him, but he still said he would save him. The world was so big, but it was rare to see someone who would say one thing but mean another. Chu Li shook his head. "Brother Lu, you're wrong. If I wanted to kill you, I would have done so already. Why would I cripple your martial arts?" "Humph." Lu Guangdi curled his lips. Lu Guangdi did not dare to kill him because of His Royal Highness the Crown Prince. Otherwise, he would have killed him already. Chu Li said, "If I really wanted to kill you, I wouldn't care what His Royal Highness the Crown Prince thinks. What can His Royal Highness do to me?" Lu Guangdi frowned at him. This Chu Li was too daring. He did not even care about his royal highness. This was outrageous. Chu Li shook his head. In any case, Brother Lu, your journey will not be peaceful. It's better to be careful. Don't get assassinated on your way back to Tide Listening Pavilion. You're exaggerating. Lu Guangdi sneered. Chu Li smiled and did not say anything else. He downed the white jade cup on the table again. All right, then I won't delay Brother Lu any longer. Have a safe journey. He put down the white jade cup and gave a fist salute. Lu Guangdi downed his cup as well. He put down the white jade cup and turned to leave. As she watched the three of them disappear into the distance, Xueling asked in confusion, Master, why did you have to be so courteous with him? You gave him so much face. Chu Li smiled. If you want something, you have to pay a price. Isn't he Master's enemy? Xueling asked. Chu Li said, Gratitude and hatred are interchangeable. Everything can be changed. Who can tell them apart? Xueling said, Master. Chu Li turned around and smiled. I do have a plan. There's no point talking about it now. Xueling looked at him helplessly. Chu Li smiled without saying anything. He turned around and left the pavilion. When Ling Jinghua returned to the Crown Prince's residence in the evening, he went to the backyard. The setting sun dyed the backyard red. Lu Yurong was sitting in a gazebo reading a book. She wore a white robe and a white veil covered her face. Only her clear eyes could be seen. Not far away, the 9 women were busy with their own things. They had surrounded her and formed a formation that could be activated in an instant. Ling Jinghua came to the gazebo and sat opposite Lu Yurong. Yurong, I heard that you've mobilized a few more protectors to secretly follow Lu Guangdi? Yes. Lu Yurong put down the scroll. Ling Jinghua said, Why do you care so much about Lu Guangdi who's already crippled? Uncle-in-law, aren't you worried that he'll be assassinated? Lu Yurong asked. Ling Jinghua frowned. He's now a cripple. He's no threat. Moreover, his father is Lu Jingjun. Aren't you afraid that Lu Jingjun will take revenge by killing him? Not everyone is afraid of Lu Jingjun. Lu Yurong said, What will Lu Jingjun do if he's killed? Of course he'll take revenge. Ling Jinghua said, What if he can't find his enemy? We can't not be too careful. Ling Jinghua came back to his senses. He realized that his previous train of thought was inappropriate. His face darkened. After pondering for a while, he slowly said, If he can't find his enemy, he'll deal with Chu Li and vent his anger on us. Chapter 1180. We have to be on guard. Ling Jinghua's face darkened. When that happens, not only will we fail to rope Lu Jingjun in, but we'll also become enemies. He might even try to assassinate me. That's right. Lu Yurong nodded. That's why we need to make sure that Lu Guangdi returns to Tide Listening Pavilion safely. All right, thank you for your meticulous planning, Yurong. I was too careless. Ling Jinghua broke out in a cold sweat. If it was up to him, he would have abandoned Lu Guangdi right away. If anything happened to Lu Guangdi, he would have gone for wool and come home shorn. Not only would he have provoked a powerful figure like Lu Jingjun, he might even have offended the Green Deer Cliff. Lu Yurong smiled and said, Uncle-in-law is the one who makes the big decisions, and I'm the one who fills in the gaps. If I can't think of this, then I'm not doing my job well. Okay. Ling Jinghua was secretly thankful that Lu Yurong was there. Otherwise, this matter would have become a huge problem. Although he had become the crown prince, there were still many people who did not give up and were eager to make a move. Moreover, the Tempest Temple was also eyeing him. If a disciple of the Tempest Temple assassinated Lu Guangdi, then there would be no end of trouble. This was very likely to happen. The Tempest Temple was everywhere, so they would definitely notice this flaw. Oh right, Ling Jinghua said. Chu Li sent young Lu off today and reminded him that it's not safe on the road. It seems like he's trying to befriend young Lu. What exactly is he planning? Lu Yurong scoffed. If I can think of that, then so can he. If Lu Guangdi dies, then he'll be the first one to suffer. But that's strange. Logically speaking, he shouldn't be afraid of Green Deer Cliff. Where does he get the confidence to not be afraid of Green Deer Cliff? Leng Jinghua asked. Lu Yurong replied, Xiao Yueling is a disciple of Green Deer Cliff. Leng Jinghua nodded. If he was really worried about Lu Guangdi's safety, why didn't he escort him? Lu Yurong asked. Leng Jinghua chuckled. He can't bring himself to do that. After all, Lu Guangdi was defeated by him, and his martial arts was crippled by him. If he were to escort him now, what would people think of him? He's just a fickle villain. That's true. Lu Yurong pondered. As the sun set, Lu Guangdi sat next to a bonfire, warming himself while channeling his energy to regulate his breathing. He was constantly circulating his internal energy. Without the protection of his internal energy, his body was exceptionally weak. After a day of traveling, there was not a single part of his body that did not hurt. It was as if his body did not belong to him, and he could not control it. As the sun set, the surroundings suddenly became cold. After cultivating for a while, he did not make any progress. He could only approach the bonfire to keep warm. After losing his cultivation, he was no longer immune to heat and cold. He was especially afraid of cold and tiredness. His handsome face darkened under the bonfire as he cursed Chu Li in his heart. It was extremely difficult to recover his cultivation level. Chu Li was ruthless. Not only did he cripple his cultivation level, but he also damaged his meridians. Even though he had taken some spirit medicine to heal his injuries, it still left a hidden injury. If there was nothing wrong with his body, with his outstanding aptitude, he should have gathered a bit of inner energy by now. Even if he could not use it to defend against enemies, it would not be a problem for him to resist the cold, and he would not need a campfire to warm himself. He suddenly took out a jade pendant and was about to throw it into the bonfire. The old man sitting beside him hurriedly said, "Young Master Lu?" Lu Guangdi looked at him. The old man's surname was Hu. He had a mediocre appearance and did not look like a master at all. He looked at the jade pendant in Lu Guangdi's hand. "Young Master Lu, are you going to throw this jade pendant away?" "Yes." Lu Guangdi scoffed. "Since it's a gift from Chu Li, it's definitely not something good. He might even use this opportunity to harm me." "I don't think so." Elder Hu shook his head. "Chu Li doesn't need to go through so much trouble. This jade pendant is no ordinary item." The other old man, Elder Su, smiled. "I heard that Chu Li has some mystical abilities. I think he's up to no good." Lu Guangdi scoffed. Elder Hu said, "In my opinion, you've misunderstood him. Think about it, if something happens to you, young Master Lu, and your father investigates, who will bear the brunt of it?" "Nothing will happen to me." Lu Guangdi furrowed his brows. Elder Hu laughed. "We martial artists always put our lives on the line. No matter how strong our martial arts are, we can't guarantee that we'll live until tomorrow. There's no need to be so afraid of death. If something happens to you, Chu Li will suffer as well. Your father will definitely cripple his martial arts or even take his life." Lu Guangdi smiled. It would be best if Chu Li died. He suddenly had an idea. If Lu Jingjun really came looking for him, he might be able to use him to get rid of Chu Li. After all, neither of them were good people. It would be best if both of them were heavily injured. Elder Su said, "That's why he doesn't want anything to happen to young Master Lu. He might even personally save you at a critical moment. This jade pendant might really be useful." "Humph, I can't count on him. I'll be thankful if he doesn't harm me." Lu Guangdi pouted. He looked at the jade pendant in disdain and put it back into his pocket. This Chu Li really has times when he's confused. Isn't he afraid that I'll set up a trap and then crush the jade pendant to wait for him to come? Isn't he a little too confident? Since he revealed such a fatal flaw, Lu Guangdi would not hold back. He could only blame himself for offending him. He deserved to die for offending him. Lu Guangdi smirked. He was extremely pleased with himself. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. Suddenly, a few whistles could be heard. 10 silhouettes emerged from the forest and pounced at the 3 of them. Several flashes of light enveloped the 3 of them. Damn it! Elder Su snorted and stood in front of Lu Guangdi. Elder Hu went forward and intercepted the 10 of them. The 2 of them were cautious. They did not want to be meritorious, but they wanted to avoid mistakes. Lu Guangdi did not have any martial arts now. He could not withstand a single blow. Elder Hu waved both of his palms. The sky was filled with palm energy. The 10 of them split into 2 groups and pounced at Lu Guangdi. He could only block half of them. The other 5 were still charging at Lu Guangdi, but they were blocked by Elder Su. Lu Guangdi stood next to the bonfire, his clothes fluttering. The palm energy was like a hurricane. The bonfire shook violently and his clothes fluttered. The palm energy could flip him over at any time. His eyes flashed. He was terrified. He wanted to run away. Unfortunately, he did not have any martial arts. He could only wait for death. Thinking about this, he hated Chu Li even more. He wanted to tear him apart. Elder Su and Elder Hu did not seem to have any martial arts. Now that they were displaying their top martial arts, they were actually suppressing the 5 of them. Although the 10 of them were strong, they paled in comparison to Elder Su and Elder Hu. They were cautious at first, but when they saw how weak their opponents were, they finally relaxed. They began to attack relentlessly. They wanted to get rid of these 10 people as soon as possible in case there were more assassins later. The 10 of them were being suppressed by the 2 of them. They kept retreating and slowly approached the forest. At first, Lu Guangdi was startled as his heart trembled in fear. However, when he saw that Su and Hu were suppressing their opponents to the point where they could not even breathe, he instantly let out a sigh of relief. Following that, he was filled with boundless rage. He wanted nothing more than to kill them all with a single palm strike. He shouted, "Elder Su and Elder Hu, who are they?" Elder Su and Elder Hu shook their heads. Chapter 1181. Lu Guangdi glared fiercely at the 10 masked men in black. They were of different heights, and their martial arts were all different. Some used swords, some used knives, and most used fists and palms. Their techniques were exquisite and powerful, but it was difficult to tell which sect they were from. Bang, 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 bang. The continuous sounds of their palms colliding was like a thunderstorm, causing the yellow dust and dead leaves on the ground to dance. Ding, 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 ding. Elder Su and Elder Hu's fists and palms collided with the swords and knives, letting out a clear sound like metal clashing. The 2 of them were able to suppress the people in front of them with their bare hand. The 10 people slowly retreated into the forest under the pressure of the 2 men. Elder Su and Elder Zhou suddenly retreated, not continuing to chase after them as they watched them enter the forest. They were experienced and cautious, knowing the rule of not entering a forest. Moreover, they were most concerned about Lu Guangdi. If they chased them into the forest, it would be bad if they were lured away. After the 10 people retreated into the forest, seeing that Elder Su and Elder Hu did not chase after them, they finally left. Lu Guangdi's handsome face darkened as he stared at their disappearing silhouettes. Elder Su smiled. Although their martial arts are strong, they're not the best. They probably don't know that we're protecting you, young Master Lu. Lu Guangdi shook his head. If they know that you 2 are here, I'm afraid they'll find someone stronger. Or they could just retreat, be sensible. Elder Hu smiled. He did not believe what he said. The 2 of them had strange techniques and did not show their appearance. Even if others saw them, they would not think that they were masters. Instead, they would think that they were easy to bully. Lu Guangdi smiled and shook his head. It's not going to be easy down the road. Lu Guangdi glanced at the two elders and fist saluted. Thank you, seniors. I'll have to entrust everything to you. Young Master Lu, you don't have to be so polite. Elder Hu smiled and waved his hand. We're just following orders. If you want to thank someone, thank Miss Lu and His Highness the Crown Prince. Yes. Lu Guangdi nodded. It seemed that Chu Li's jinx was right. His journey would not be peaceful. Elder Hu said, since they're gone, we should take a good rest. There will probably be a big battle down the road. We need to conserve our energy. Seniors, if it really comes to a critical moment, please leave first. Don't worry about me, Lu Guang said. Old Su and Old Hu smiled and shook their heads. We are under orders to protect you, young Master Lu. Of course, we have to obey. If we are here, young Master Lu will be here. Even if we are not, young Master Lu will still be here. Don't worry. Sigh. Lu Guangdi was secretly delighted, but he pretended to look helpless. In the evening of the next day, they continued to rest in a forest and made a bonfire. Today's temperature was exceptionally low, and the wind was piercingly cold. Lu Guangdi could not stand it as he felt like he was going to freeze to death. It took him a while to warm himself up by the fire. He felt as if he had been reborn. The more he hated his frail body, the more he hated Chu Li. His hatred for Chu Li was getting stronger and stronger, and he was more motivated to cultivate again. Unfortunately, his body was injured by Chu Li, and there was no progress in recovering his martial arts. He took out the white jade pendant from his bosom and played with this exquisite jade pendant. He had an incomparably strong urge to throw this jade pendant to the ground and crush it into pieces. Unfortunately, he knew that with his current meager strength, it was impossible to crush this jade pendant into pieces. When he thought of this, he hated Chu Li even more. He swore to kill him. No matter what, he must kill Chu Li. Old Su and Old Hu watched him clench their teeth and shook their heads helplessly. This young Master Lu cultivated desperately and crazily. He was always cultivating, but his personality was a little extreme. Even if Chu Li gave this white jade pendant to bury the hatchet, he would not be able to get young Master Lu's forgiveness. They could not help but feel pity for Chu Li. Meeting such an extreme person, there was nothing they could do. Be careful! Old Hu suddenly raised his head and shouted. Old Su appeared beside Lu Guangdi in a flash, ready to take him away. 4 figures appeared around them. Old Su grabbed Lu Guangdi and took a step back, escaping from the 4 people's encirclement. Old Hu went up to them. The 4 silhouettes were 4 elderly men in gray robes. Their heads were all wrapped up, revealing only a pair of cold eyes that were as cold as ice. Lu Guangdi met the gazes of these 4 people, and was instantly shaken to the core, unable to maintain his composure. As his body shivered, he sighed to himself. These 4 people must have some kind of mystical technique, or else they would not have such intense gazes. Old Hu went up to the 4 people and attacked without saying a word. The 5 of them were instantly entangled, and Old Hu was immediately at a disadvantage. These 4 gray-clothed people's cultivation levels were extremely high. They were only slightly weaker than him. 2 of the gray-clothed people held him back, while the other 2 rushed towards Lu Guangdi and Old Su. Old Su scoffed and pulled Lu Guangdi to the back while he went up to meet them. The 3 of them instantly became entangled. Old Su could not take them down for a while. On the other side, although the 2 gray-clothed elders were at a disadvantage, they could still hold Old Hu back. The situation was in a stalemate. Watch out! Old Su and Old Hu shouted at Lu Guangdi at the same time. A black-clothed person floated out of the forest. He did not seem to be in the same group as the gray-clothed people. He shot towards Lu Guangdi like a flash of light and slammed his palm towards Lu Guangdi. How dare you! Old Hu and Old Su roared and wanted to rush over, but they were once again held back by the gray-clothed person in front of them. The black-clothed person ignored their roars and slammed his palm towards Lu Guangdi's chest. Lu Guangdi gritted his teeth and desperately channeled his inner energy. However, there was no reaction. There was not even a trace of inner energy. He took 2 steps forward. However, all of this was useless. No matter how exquisite his footwork was, it was useless in front of his opponent's reaction speed. He could only watch helplessly as his chest was hit. Then, darkness surged up like a tidal wave and engulfed him. Young Master Lu! Old Hu and Old Su roared and unleashed a frenzied attack. They forced the 2 groups of gray-clothed people to retreat and arrived in front of Lu Guangdi. Lu Guangdi flew more than 10 meters away and landed heavily on the ground. He laid on the ground like a rag doll, not moving an inch. Old Su and Old Hu approached him, but they did not dare to touch him. They reached out and gently checked his pulse. The 2 of them looked extremely gloomy. Lu Guangdi was already dead. Lu Guangdi's martial arts was already crippled, and he had no inner energy left. He was hit by a top-notch grandmaster's palm without the slightest bit of resistance or any tricks. For someone who was crippled of martial arts, death was certain. The gray-clothed person and the black-clothed person turned into a wisp of smoke and silently disappeared into the forest. They were certain that Lu Guangdi would definitely die. Once Lu Guangdi died, they knew that Old Hu and Old Su would definitely go crazy. Their cultivation levels were extremely high. Now that they had gone crazy, their power was even more terrifying. Even if they could fight them off, they might lose some people. Since they had achieved their goal, they naturally would not risk their lives to fight them. Sigh. The 2 of them sighed. They had been entrusted with this task by Lu Yurong and Her Royal Highness the Crown Prince. They did not think that a seemingly easy task would end up like this. Lu Guangdi was killed right in front of their eyes. Old Su suddenly roared to the sky. Old Hu shook his head. Bang! He slammed his palm on the ground, creating a crater. He was furious. The 2 of them felt extremely sullen. Chapter 1182. Lu Guangdi was already dead. He breathed his last. The 2 of them were initially confident that there would not be any problems. Their martial arts skills were top-notch, and they had been stealthily traveling the entire way. They did not enter the city and only rested in the wilderness. Sometimes they would even take shortcuts so they did not encounter anyone along the way. The previous attack made them feel relieved. They felt that they should be able to get through this. The attacker was not strong, so they were not from any top-notch sect or force. Ever since Lu Guangdi came to Fairy's capital, he had not provoked anyone other than Chuli. Chuli wanted to bury the hatchet because he was worried about Lu Jingjun from Green Deer Cliff. Naturally, he would not send someone to assassinate him. No matter how hated Lu Guangdi was, there would only be a group of people who wanted to kill him. There would not be too many people. They never thought that the assassins this time would be so powerful that they actually succeeded in killing them. Bam 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 bam. Suddenly, there was a rumbling sound like thunder. The 2 of them regained their senses and quickly turned to look. This sound came from the depths of the forest. It was the sound of grandmasters fighting. Elder Su took a deep breath and took out a jade bottle. He poured out a spirit pill and stuffed it into Lu Guangdi's mouth. He then used his energy to pat Lu Guangdi a few times. This was the spirit pill that Lu Yurong had given them before they left, the spirit blessing pill. It was the public house's unique spirit pill. It could even bring back the dead. After Lu Guangdi was hit, darkness swallowed him, but he still felt like he was falling into a deep darkness. His body was cold. As time passed, he did not know how much time had passed. Gradually, he felt light and light appeared in front of his eyes. He knew from the sect's archives that this was a sign that his soul was about to leave his body after death. He was about to die completely. He was not willing to die like this. The past flashed past his eyes one by one. It was so fast that he did not miss anything. He felt an inexplicable feeling in his heart. He let out a long sigh and gradually calmed down. There was a hint of joy in his heart. He was completely liberated. At this moment, he swallowed a spirit pill. A burning sensation came from his stomach. The light feeling disappeared, and his mind fell. Thousands of sensations surged in his heart. His body was in pain, his skin felt refreshed, and his organs felt like they were being cut by knife. Cough, 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 cough. Lu Guangdi suddenly coughed violently. His heart suddenly started beating again. He sat up abruptly and spat out a mouthful of black blood. Along with the burning sensation from his stomach, an endless power surged up and penetrated through his entire body. Immediately, his entire body was surrounded by clear air. He immediately widened his eyes and looked at the two old men. Thank God! Elder Su and Elder Hu put their palms together and bowed in the direction of Xin Du. Elder Su, Elder Hu, I'm alive again? Lu Guang asked. Ha ha! Elder Su laughed and said, Young Master Lu, you're really lucky to be alive again. Thank you, seniors. Lu Guangdi gave a fist salute. After dying once, his mind was clear and he felt the preciousness of life. He became more and more afraid of death. Although the two of them had failed to protect him and caused him to lose his life, he was still grateful that they could save his life. However, he still had to tell His Highness the Crown Prince that the two of them were not suitable to be guards. No need to thank us. Elder Su hurriedly waved his hand and said with a smile, If you want to thank someone, thank Miss Lu. It was Miss Lu who gave me this resurrection spirit pill before we parted. Of course, he did not know what Lu Guangdi was thinking. He thought that Lu Guangdi was really grateful to him. Sigh. Lu Guangdi sighed. I owe Miss Lu my life. Looks like I'll have to repay her for the rest of my life. He felt an inexplicable sense of joy. With this excuse, he could stay by Lu Yurong's side, take care of her, and obtain her. Miss Lu is really meticulous. Elder Su and Elder Hu nodded and praised. They had experienced Lu Yurong's amazing methods more than once. This time, it seemed very normal. Not far away, the sound of explosions could still be heard. The two of them frowned and looked at each other. They did not know which grandmasters it was, or if it was the assassin from before. They suppressed their thoughts of going over. It was not the right time to be curious. It was better not to cause any more trouble. They only had one spirit blessing pill. If they died again, they would be helpless. Bam 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 bam. Continuous dull sounds could be heard. Lu Guangdi could not help but be curious. Seniors, let's go and take a look. We should hurry on with our journey, Elder Su said. Lu Guangdi said, Maybe we know them. Let's go and take a look, Elder Hu said. All right. Elder Su could only agree. He held on to Lu Guangdi and glided forward. Soon, they reached the depths of the forest. There were a total of 11 people fighting. It was 5 against 6. The 5 of them were the 4 men in gray and 1 man in black who tried to assassinate Lu Guangdi. The other 6 were dressed in green. The 2 groups were evenly matched. It's our people. Elder Su turned to look at Elder Hu. Elder Hu nodded. Looks like Miss Lu secretly sent people. Hey, these people. Elder Su was very dissatisfied. These people were too unreliable. Since they came, they did not help in time. They let Lu Guangdi die once. Fortunately, it was Lu Guangdi this time. If it was the Crown Prince, he would not be able to redeem himself even if he died 100 times. Let's help them, Elder Hu said. Elder Su frowned and thought for a while. He then snorted. That's the only way. Lu Guangdi was placed on a tree branch. The 2 of them rushed over. Both of them were top-notch experts. Once they joined in, the situation was instantly reversed. They worked together to heavily injure one of the men in gray while the others escaped. The 6 middle-aged men in green greeted the 2 of them. What's wrong with you guys? Elder Sue asked without holding back. The 6 middle-aged men in green helplessly shook their heads. A square-faced middle-aged man sighed. We secretly defeated a group of people. When we rushed over, we were too late. Elder Sue, young Master Lu is dead, right? He died once and came back to life. Elder Sue snorted. Luckily Miss Lu gave us the spirit medicine. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to face anyone. The 6 middle-aged men in green nodded bitterly. This time, they had made a huge mistake. If it were not for the spirit medicine that saved Lu Guangdi, they would have seriously neglected their duties. They would not have a good time when they returned. After this, they decided not to hide in the dark anymore. They met up with Elder Sue and Elder Hu and hurried on their journey together. On a mountain peak 10 miles away, Chu Li was hugging Shao Qi as they sat under a pine tree and enjoyed the scenery. The mountains stretched on endlessly, like a giant dragon entrenched in the ground. Since it was early winter, all the grass had withered. Only the pine forest was still green. His eyes were admiring the scenery, but his mind was filled with Lu Guangdi's every move, every word, and every thought. After Lu Guangdi's death, the protective force in Lu Guangdi's mind finally dissipated. Chu Li could finally see what Lu Guangdi was thinking. He was very satisfied. It seemed that this spirit blessing pill was not wasted. Shao Qi said, "If we just leave like that, Guyu will probably go crazy." Chu Li smiled. Of the 36 stratagems, leaving is the best strategy. It's best to anger him. Shao Qi pursed her lips and smiled. I guess no one would expect you to take a step back. Chu Li nodded. Since I've left the imperial residence, His Royal Highness the Crown Prince won't chase after me. Let's not turn against each other for now. What if he chases after you? Shao Qi asked. He might send people from the secret guardians hall to the public house. We'll just fight our way out. Chu Li played it down. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.